Hello. Peace, everybody. Hi. How are you? Can you guys hear me? Everything well on your end? Awesome. Let me just set up a few verses here for the sermon today. We're going to go over some stuff as well, a little bit of housekeeping in the beginning. Peace. What's up, Ravi? Hilal. What's up, brother? How you guys doing? How you guys doing? There's the two verses that I want. 64 and 9. Where is 9? Right here. Okay, cool. So yeah, peace, everybody. Sorry, the screen here is a little it's too small, it's too far. I can't see your comments. It's hard to read, and I don't want to do that every time. So peace. Buongiorno. Is that good? Yeah, it's better. Tinta, peace. Trabellesi, peace. Tank. I cannot speak that language. I think that's German. I'm not sure. Tony, Iram, Hanif, salam, brother. Melanie, Moran, pillars of the temple. Peace be upon you, bro. Shabana. Man, peace, brother. Heard the debate you had the other day with that gang of pretend imams. Wanted to say well done for keeping your cool. I appreciate it. The thing with that is that you do really have to keep your cool, but the personal insults is sometimes it gets to you. But I know sometimes when I do the clips, people see the heated parts of the conversation because I clip the juicy parts, the stuff that people usually watch on shorts. But that's not how I conduct myself from the get-go. They have to really push me for that. I want like Mo, but I disagree with some of his points. How come you believe the earth is spinning in empty space? All right, cool. That's a very deep conversation to have, but the Quran does not talk about whether the earth is the shape of the earth from a perspective outside of your eyes. This is my brother put this on my head. I didn't even know it was still there. Ooh, I thought it didn't stick. Do you know what it is? It's a fragile sticker. He's saying to me that let me see. Go up. Come on. Saying that I'm fragile. But anyways. How you guys doing? I need your help, MFG. Can you help me? Ravi, just put your question when I see it. I'll let you know. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week we had a good stream in regards to showing the Sunnis and the Shias who they are. I had a few conversations with some Christians as well, which were beneficial. One of them, I believe, I got to get his name. He's someone who's liking to set up a conversation with me. He has, I think, a decent sized platform. His name is Postmodern Theology. Right, postmodern theology. His videos show up often on TikTok and YouTube and whatever. He's liking to have a conversation in regards to he's wanting to have a conversation in regards to hadith rejection. Why do we reject the hadith? Because it's not part of religion. That's the very simple answer. And as you've seen with the conversation with Leafy, who I do also have a debate scheduled, a formal debate with him scheduled, or going to be scheduled, but agreed upon. So we're looking for the dates that we want to do this. Papa, the 5 verse 1 or whatever it was, that was hilarious. I did have a conversation with Islamic Apex, which was a funny conversation. He started by saying, do you follow the companions? I go, where does God order me to follow the companions? He takes me to chapter 9. He says, those who followed them in goodness. But yet, he took that verse out of context. Because that verse is talking about muhajirin, are the people who migrated. Those who followed them in goodness. So the first set are called the migrators, the people who immigrated first. Those are called the immigrators. And the people who followed them, which are people who lagged behind a little bit, but then eventually they also moved to Medina. Those would be alladhina tabawhum bi ihsan, because there are people that followed them that were not in righteousness but in hypocrisy. But he was trying to say, no, this verse is talking about people who followed them in how they follow the Rasul, how they understand it in just a general context. And then I take them to Tabari, and I show him through Tabari that like even Tabari agrees with me, but he didn't like the answer, so he kicked me off the stage. And this was pretty funny. You said that headscarf for women is not from God. Excuse me. You said the headscarf for women is not from God, but if a woman wears it, then it's better. I'm confused. Is it from God or not? She can show her hair, right? It is not obligatory for her to wear the headscarf, as there is no verse in the Quran that is explicitly saying that she has to wear a headscarf. Implicitly, it's understood that they had headscarves and that for them to cover their bosoms. So covering the bosoms, their chest area, that's the explicit command. Now, for me, from what I understand, because it is not explicitly said and it's implied for her that it's better for her to cover her hair. If she does so, she gets closer to God. But she's not a sinner if she doesn't. This is from what I understood. Papa, sorry for your loss. Thank you. Thank you, Nemo. Appreciate it. Sorry for your loss. Guys, my mom passed away a couple of days ago. Remember in your prayer, please. May God accept the best that she did and forgo her sins and errors. And stay strong, brother, because we're all heading there. And she technically started her life now. So the next step for her is to meet her Lord, and God willing, you find each other in heaven. Quranism ain't from Islam. You're a punt. Keeper, how you doing? I saw you in the stream when you were just talking about a bunch of nonsense in the chat when I was talking to the 5 other people that couldn't keep up. Quranism ain't from Islam. You're upon kufr. So the Quran is not part of Islam, and following Quran is not part of Islam. So us as people who you call Quranists, we follow the Quran, and that is not part of Islam. That is very sad for you to even utter such nonsense. I believe Code 19 has some merit, not to the extent that people like to say. Yes, it is a way to show that the Quran has a mathematical code in it. I do not believe that Rashad Khalifa is a messenger. We missed your live streams. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family. Thank you, brother. May God bless you as well, Abu Ibrahim, you and your family. Why don't you ever debate those idiots from Speaker Corner? Because that would be a few $100s just to go see them. Yes, I am using Streamline Riyadh. That's going to be a little later. Muhammad bin Muhammad Khalid. So what I'm going to do is start the sermon. So we have a 20-30 minute sermon. And then after that, I open the lines for anybody who wants to join and have a conversation, whether you're a Quran alone believer, whether you want to debate, whatever it is. Peace, Arnius. Now, exalted is the Lord, the blessed Lord, the hearing, the seeing, the knowing of all, the one who bestows his knowledge upon whom he wants, the one who has everything in his grasp and in his hold. Exalted is he that has the knowledge of the seen and the unseen, knows what we declare and what we conceal. Exalted is you, O Lord, the Lord of the worlds, the creator of the heavens and the sky, the originator of everything. Our Lord that possesses the knowledge and bestows it upon whom he wills. Our Lord, we ask you to increase us in knowledge that would be beneficial for us. God, let us see the truth for what it is, and let us go away from falsehood. And our Lord, we ask you to make us hate blasphemy and hate things that take us away from you. And our Lord, make us from those who fear you and respect you, respect your station to its due respect. God, we are always short and we are sinners, and we seek for your forgiveness, for you are the only one who is capable of forgiving sins. Our Lord, we believed in the message that you sent on the blessed Prophet Muhammad, and we have accepted him as a prophet for us to follow. We have read the book and we have followed the book. So God, please write us among those of our believers. And our Lord, we ask you to allow us to do righteous deeds and inspire us to do those righteous deeds and guide us to the righteous deeds that you would accept from us, so that we would find the promise that you gave us through your blessed prophets and blessed messengers. The promise that where you, because you said it, it has to become the truth. Exalted is you who's capable of saying be and it becomes. So our Lord, please say upon us forgiveness and forgive us, our Lord. Forgive us for our sins and save us from the torment of the hellfire, and save us from the torment of the mind, and shield us from the devil who wants to take us away from you and your path. And God, do not let us be of those who are immoral or perverted or fell into traps that are not going to avail them on the day of judgment. Our Lord, let us see the truth for what it is, and let us be upon those people who are following the truth, and forgive our sins and tolerate us for what we do that is incorrect. Our Lord, increase us in our faith and increase us in what we need to achieve, so that you will bless us here in this world and the hereafter. Our Lord, we ask you to forgive us and our parents and our relatives, those who believed in you and believed in the last day. And our Lord, please forgo our mistakes and forgive our sins, and make us upon those that are among the righteous in the hereafter. Allow us to establish in this land a place for us to be able to worship you and praise you and serve you without all this external pressures of individuals that want to destroy your light. Yet they cannot destroy the light, because whatever you wrote in the Quran is the truth, and it will be fulfilled, and it has been fulfilled. Exalted is you, the Lord of the worlds, and all praise to the Lord, Lord of the worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is a simple topic. Individuals like to think that intentions have a say in a matter. There are times where intentions do matter, but it's very difficult to find a human being where they think that they're ill-intended. Even in evil actions, people justify it to show that they're well-intended. There's characters in history that are morally bankrupt, that they've caused a lot of harm in the world, and they've caused a lot of division and a lot of breaking. And yet those individuals think that they're well-intended, that they have good intentions. It's not very far to look in history for us to see this, because the history is currently unraveling with certain individuals in the Middle East, in the Zionist state, that are committing a very terrible, heinous act that is ungodly. They are causing more orphans when God told us to take care of the orphans. They're killing people when God told us that if you save them person, it's like you saved the whole world. They're removing people from their homes where God has ordered them that they're not allowed to remove people from their homes, and all this despicable action. Yet if you ask them, they say that they're intending good, that because God has intended good for them, they are intending good as well. Yet their actions is speaking otherwise. People who try to assume that good intentions matter in the large scale of things, it truly doesn't. Because the intentions behind your actions is something that is between you and your Lord. But it's the result of the actions that truly is what you're going to be measured for. And the actions results are not in your hands, and it's God's hands. But it's the choices that you make the choices that you make are going to produce these results that you are responsible for. This is something that is extremely evident in the Quran, where that when you do certain things, they purify you. And when you do certain things, they're going to move you away from God. God tells you that there's a scale where all the good things that you did are going to be on one side, and all the evil things that you did is going to be on the other side. And if the scale tips one way or the other, then that is where you're going to abide, or where you're going to find your everlasting abode. Now, something that is extremely interesting is that in this day and age, everybody is putting a lot of intention or a lot of weight on intentions. Yes, of course, certain times and certain things when you are doing something that is positive, if your intention is not clean and your intention is to show off or do it for other reasons, at that point you are a liar. And when lying upon your intentions, then you're in trouble. But this is the flip side, where people seem like they're doing good things, but yet they are intending evil things, intending bad things. And those individuals are in troubles for simply lying to themselves, deceiving themselves, trying to deceive God and trying to deceive the believers. But the other side is the exact same equation, where the individual keeps telling the people, like, no, I am well intended. I am trying to do good. Yet because their action is speaking otherwise, then their intention is also a lie. So both people in the same party, they're technically liars. Now, there are some verses in the Quran that I want to explore with you today to show you that when it comes down to intentions, intentions don't speak on your behalf. Because as I said, people always assume that they're well intended. Now, the thing that is interesting, and someone's also putting it here, that these sectarians and people who drive with all of these other books other than the Quran, and they judge from outside of the book, and they teach you about things that they assume the Prophet say. One of the most known hadiths that people say is that the actions or the actions are based on your intentions. This is partially true. This is true in regards to when you're doing positive actions. When you're doing negative actions, it doesn't matter what your intention is. Because if your action is based on an evil standard, then it doesn't matter that if you were well intended. Because the reason that you did it was for yourself. It's a selfish reason. And that's how it's a very easy way to know that if you are well intended or evilly inclined. People who are evil and people who are evilly inclined, it's usually a selfish reason. It's about them and their few group of people. While the individuals who are well intended, it's about the general public. It's about the general good. It's about helping someone else from the love of your heart. I'm not saying that if you take things for yourself, that means that it's your evil. It's the intention behind it. Going to the gym and working out is something that's positive. If you're doing it so that you could get more women, then that's an evil intention. Yet you get the body and you get whatever you want. Now, and if an individual goes to the gym and he does the same workouts and the same routine, but his intention is to have a healthy body and to be prepared if God calls him in towards the battlefield, he's ready. This is the exact same action, yet the intention is different. And that's truly when it gets measured. But to go to jail because of you being a criminal and you say, no, I was just taking care of my family, then your intention there, it doesn't truly matter. Because if you truly wanted to take care of your family, you shouldn't have put yourself in a position where you find yourself in jail because you are oppressing others. And now the funny thing is when you go to jail and you talk to the majority of the people in jail, there's a big percentage, way above 70%, where they tell you that they're innocent, that because of their well intentions, that they're misunderstood and they shouldn't be in jail. And this is true with certain world leaders where they tell you that my intention was good, so I shouldn't be in trouble for what I was doing. Yet the results of their action was a crime and criminal activity and criminal results. The first verse that I want to take you is in chapter 4. In chapter 4, verse 63. Let me just add the verse to the screen. There we go. And it should be, sorry, 1 minute. There we go. So this is the verse that is first that I want to read together. This is in chapter 4, verse 63. And when it 61, sorry, 461 to 63. And when it is said to them, okay, we're talking about hypocrites here. We're talking about hypocrites. And when it is said to them, come to what God has sent down into the messenger. You see the hypocrites turning away from you in refusal, right? So how will it be when a misfortune strikes them for what their hands have sent forth? And they will come to you swearing by God, we only intended goodness in confirmation. So you see here the hypocrites, when they get slapped down and they're in trouble, right? Because of the lies that they were spreading and the way that they're acting, they will come and say, oh, no, I was just trying to be a good person. I was trying to give peace to the people before. Oh, God is always about peace. So maybe I did things that I shouldn't have done because I'm intending good. This is where the person is so blind to his own actions. And God tells us about the hypocrites and the liars and the disbelievers, that they're deaf, dumb, and blind. Being blind is not realizing the magnitude of some of your actions, either the consequence that's coming or the consequence that you're actually facing now, because you are blind to who you are. Being blind is your heart is no longer capable of understanding the gravity of the situation that you're in, where it's difficult for you to make a change. And to truly make a change, you have to start to bring yourself in a position where you're judging yourself correctly. Not just quickly or running, like this verse shows these hypocrites do. We only intended goodness and confirmation. Those are the one whom God will expose what is in their hearts. So turn away from them, admonish them, and speak to them about their souls, a speech of eloquence. So God truly knows what these people have inside. There's some people that lie about their intentions, but a lot of people are blind to their intentions. They truly think that they are people who are trying to do good by their hypocritical and evil actions. And this is also present in chapter 9. In chapter 9, when God states that, I think I missed it. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, so it's in 108, 107. Okay, so, and there are those who have taken uh, a mosque in Dirar. One second, because the translation here, it seems like we need to show a little bit more. 108. Yes, Masjidan Diraran, in disbelief, okay? So, and division. So, and there are those who have taken a mosque for wrongdoing, okay, for disbelief and division among the believers, and an observation post for those who waged war against God and his messenger. So, God is telling us about individuals that have taken a mosque during the blessed time, at the time of the blessed prophet, where they have used this mosque to separate people and to cause problems. Sectarianism, the early onset of sectarianism, right? And they're waging war against God and his messenger before. So these people already showed signs of them having disbelief in their hearts. They said that they believe, and then when you ask them, they will swear, we only intended the best, but God testifies they are liars. Because the way that they're intending, it's out of things that are not about God and his messenger. They are intending for their people who were hypocrites like them and liars like them, for them to also find this position in society. Yet the way that they set up the mosque is for them to take over. Because the reason why they set up this mosque in the first place is because there's going to be a power gap. Now that the community is growing, now that people are turning to religious leaders like the blessed Prophet Muhammad and certain of the friends of Prophet Muhammad who were religiously inclined, there's going to be the need for more as the community grows further. And there's individuals that would recognize this. So setting up a mosque would make sense because people are going to come to the mosque to learn about the religion, and they take you as an imam, as a leader. And these individuals took the opportunity to try to keep holding on to what they and their family and their generational wealth had. And they were using it as a meme to actually subvert the actual real religion. It's unfortunate how that mosque there is actually kind of carried on to where we are today. Now, the thing is, God says that they say we only intended the best, which goes back to the point that we were talking about earlier, that intentions are truly something that are deceptive in the way that they are presented to you as yourself. Look at you today. Have you noticed that if you were at any point evilly intended, that you were trying to cause harm, and yet if you get caught causing harm, you are going to say that you're well intended? That this something that is your intention actually clear, where maybe when you first made the jab, your intention was to hurt, but then because you see the person bothered, you started to change your intention and you say, no, this is actually the intention that I made. This is you having to be honest with yourself when how you were feeling during the action. This is on the little things all the way to the big things. Why are you praying? Do you pray differently when people are around, or do you pray the same while you're by yourself? Yes, there are certain things that might be a little different when people are around just because of common courtesy. But are you a little bit more in tune and a little bit more showing off when there's people around, yet when you're by yourself, you're a little bit more lazy? So what was the intention of your prayer? You need to recognize when you are concerned about how people think about you, because your intention might not be about other people. But yeah, if you're so focused on what other people are thinking, and you're so focused on the judgment of other people who are strangers, where it's just physical judgment or the way that you're conducting yourself judgment, at that point, maybe you're not as good intended as you might be. Because then now you're valuing more the opinions of others rather than the opinion of your Lord. Because God knows what's inside you. God knows what you're thinking. God knows what you want to achieve. God knows what you're doing and what you shouldn't be doing, and what you aren't doing. So with that said, if God knows, why do I care what other people think? Especially in the fact that you as a believer, there's many individuals around you that they're going to judge you negatively just because of who you are. So notice how when we came and started this stream, individuals will come and just call you a disbeliever just because they feel like you following the blessed book that God has sent on his blessed prophet Muhammad, this book that we call the Quran. Just because you're following it, you're deemed as a disbeliever. Yet they themselves are supposed to believe in it. So they're coming here well intended. They're fighting in the name of God is what they assume. But their intention is flawed just because of the way that they're presenting their information. The way that they're presenting themselves, they're actually taking away from the beauty and the eloquence and the completeness of the Quran, and then they fall on their face very quickly because they are going against God. And at the end, when they get caught on the day of judgment, they're going to be like, well, no, I was just intending well. I was defending the prophet, yet you yourself were so blind to the fact that you didn't know who the prophet truly was. You were defending things that were hurting the prophet. You were standing in the mosque where God tells you, do not stand in this mosque ever, because do not stand in this mosque ever. A mosque established on piousness from the first day is more suitable to stand therein, where there are men who love to purify themselves, and God loves those who purify. Standing in a mosque where the mosque was set up to divide people, a sectarian mosque, one that is spreading falsehood. You, doesn't matter what intention that you have at that point. If they've already battled you, then there is no peace until they realize their errors, and they themselves are thinking that they're doing good. When the disbelievers, the polytheists, were attacking the believers on the battlefield, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the disbeliever so that you can see their flawed perspective, their failed worldview. They, in their mind, they actually thought that they were defending their religions. They were defending these deities, and these deities are going to support them. All these gods that they had required these people to sit and defend them because they believed that they were on the right path. So while they were on the battlefield fighting the believers who were fighting in the name of God, they thought that they were doing well. And when they get caught, hey man, I'm just trying to defend. This is when we're talking about religion, but this also applies in what we see in this day and age in countries and wars. When the Americans are coming and bombing Iraq and causing a lot of problems in the Middle East, the soldiers that are coming, when you catch them or when they're in the middle of the war, I'm intending well. I'm defending freedom. Yet when you see the style and the way that they were attacking and the reasons why they attacked, and you realize that it was evil action, it does not matter your intention at this point. You are following an evil intention with an evil action. There are times where you do have to do something where it seems like it's an evil action, but the result is a positive result, and therefore it is mandatory for you to do what you need to do, and the intention behind it is to serve your Lord. A very good example is the individual that walked with Moses. This is a very difficult path for somebody to take because you have to be completely honest with yourself on why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of people want to be Robin Hood, and they think that they're Robin Hood, and they're holding people hostage, or they're taking people's wealth, or they're causing a lot of problems, and then they think that they're doing well because they're well intended. That these individuals are criminals, and these individuals that I'm attacking or robbing from, these people hate God anyway. So because I'm doing it and I'm taking the money, and maybe I give a little bit to God, I'm a good person. But yet you realize that they spend more of the money on themselves than on what they promised God that they would do if they took that action. So they're very well intended in the beginning. They say the right words, but yet their intentions, their true intentions, was about themselves. This is something that you always have to keep in mind when you're judging yourself in regards to why you do what you do. What is it that is driving this action right now in this moment? And a lot of us, because of how comfortable we get, we forget the words of God at the times when it needs to be brought forth. When somebody is being critical to you on why you're doing certain actions, don't run just quickly to the intention, but rather look at the reason why you're making that choice. Don't let you be the reason, or don't let you be your own judge in your own case. Because if you're always going to just judge yourself, then you're in trouble. Because the human being, one of the things that is wrong with us is we'll always try to justify why we do things. And we're always quick to put somebody else down for the exact same thing that we're doing. So a very good, funny joke that we usually see on the internet is somebody who speeds. He's always making fun of the people who are slow. And if somebody passes by them, they look down upon the other person like he's such a stupid speeder. So it's always relative to what you are. Everyone who's slower than you is dumb for not driving good enough. And whoever is faster than you is reckless because they're driving way too fast. When you yourself know you kind of drive fast anyways. So this is kind of reflective to who you are as a person, especially when you're super blind. You're always good at pointing the finger to others, but it's very difficult to point the finger at yourself. And this is where the humbleness comes. This is where the humility comes. This is where the avenues for repentance is open. This is where you need to realize on how to improve as a human being by turning inwards and seeing the bad intentions that you have. How many bad intentions that you had today? And if you're going to say that you're 100% well intended and everything that you did and everything that you chose is for the good of everybody and yourself, then you're a liar. You doing nothing is evil intended because you're wasting the time that God has given you. So you can't tell me that you're well intended all the time when you're being lazy, because lazy to me is a sign that you're falling into a form of hypocrisy where you're so well intended and you want to serve your Lord, but at the end of the day, you're not doing much. And I'm not talking about people who are fatigued. I'm not talking people who have a lot on their plate and they're not capable of keeping up with their responsibilities. I'm talking about the person that just sits on the couch all day, does nothing, and thinks that he's a believer. Maybe he'll argue with a few people online, but what have you achieved? What have you done? What have you accomplished? Have you just played games all day and then you're going to go around and tell people that you're well intended? That you're a good intended person, that you're going to achieve things in the world where others are not achieving? By what? Sitting on your couch and telling people? This is where God is telling you He knows what's inside you and He knows what you're doing. So this is something that you need to constantly keep measuring, because these good intentions that you have is not enough. It's the actions that you're producing with the results, with it's the actions that you are choosing with the results that are being produced. And yes, the results are outside of your hands. But make sure that you do what you need to do. And God has given you avenues so that you could purify yourselves from the times where you were evilly intended, where you were bad intended and could not be honest to yourself. Because if we were very honest to ourselves, then that's how this life can become a very good life, where it becomes understandable, where it becomes meaningful, where there's no reason for you to fight others, and where you are capable of keeping the patience. I don't mean to make this subjective and about myself, nor am I trying to praise myself. But a comment that I keep seeing oftenly come up on my streams and my comments is people praise me for the patience that I have when dealing with confrontations and people who are just either rude, abhorrent, or any other negative traits. The reason why is because I'm truly there not to for the clicks. I'm there to defend the religion, to what I understand, what I can do. In the back of my head, I'm not thinking just about the shorts and this. No, there's times where you recognize it and you laugh about it. But when I'm in that field, that moment where it's an intellectual battlefield, I am defending the book of God. I am defending the messengers of God. I am defending the message of God, and I'm trying to support God, yet God is free of me. He doesn't need me, but God appreciates it. That's truly the intention that I come in. But is it always the case? Now, when it's not the case, I try to step back a little bit and try to readjust myself so that it goes back to the proper intention. Because sometimes, as everyone else, you fall into little traps where the devil might play with your head, or you yourself might be inclined towards something that is not for you. And I swear, if you, with your eyes open, you're going to see the signs from God telling you if you're on the right path or not. Not every step is going to be a superstitious step where you're looking for signs and whatnot. But when you're about to take that path where it's wrong, God makes it clear for you so that on the day of judgment, you can't say, well, I didn't know, because you knew. You just chose to be ignorant and follow your good intentions. And with that said, I truly hope you guys are benefiting from these sermons. If anybody wants to read a verse, I would read the verse, the chapters called the hypocrites. And I am going to open the forum now for people who wants to join. So apparently people who follow the Quran that came down to the blessed Prophet Muhammad are rejecting the Prophet. I don't know how that makes sense. But with that said, I appreciate everybody that came. And if you have any questions, please post them. Give me 1 second, okay, guys? Let me see something. Okay, let's do this. Peace, sister. Thank you. Thank you, Jaden. Today, I went to like the Sunni sermons. I go just to hear the Quran when they want to recite the Quran. I also go because I believe like it's beneficial for you to make a presence, especially if people in the community know that you're a believer. So sometimes they ask you questions. But I went and the guy was talking about one of the sultans of Turkey that came 8 centuries after the blessed prophet. And he was talking about how amazing his teachers were and how he became a khalifa at 19 and how he's taking Constantinople and he's hitting certain hadiths and stuff. And then he ended with a hadith saying, "Lan tu'minu." What was the hadith? It was such a weird hadith that when I heard it, I was like, it goes against like how God speaks, you know. But let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, so it says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يكون هواه تبعا لما جئت به. So it says, nobody would believe among you except when his whims, okay, his whims follow what I came with. Okay, so it sounds well intended, right? So it's like somebody's whims, like their impulses, right? Hawa, his impulses, they start to become whatever the prophet came with, which us as believers would know that the Quran. But the language itself, the technicalities is wrong. Because God says, الذي ينهى النفس على الهوى عن الهوى, the one who stops the soul from hawa, from whims. And here the prophet is saying, no, you're supposed to have whims, and it's supposed to be the Quran, which goes against the Quran. So I just started to look into the hadith, and this guy is saying it to a whole group of people that have absolutely no idea what's being said after talking about Turkey for a little bit. And then he ends with this hadith, and this hadith is a weak hadith. But yet they say it like it has authority. And when you have these conversations with these people, even when you bring them the Sahih, they start to deny it. And then they make this whole, like, hey, we have this hadith science and chain of Isnad, yet it's complete garbage. I really think this hadith science is for the disbelievers. This is them trying to justify to the disbelievers, because when it comes down to like sermons and you guys talking and you guys applying, you don't care if it's weak, strong, sahih, whatever. You go off your own whims, your own hawa. It's interesting. Top 4. Praise to the Lord of the worlds. I hope you know these positive impacts you're having on everyone, bro. Inshallah. I won't give up until I'm dead, bro. Or sister. Not sure. Is Hajj mandatory or optional? Mandatory if you are capable of affording it. Where's the verse? There's a verse in chapter 3 that says so, and chapter 2 as well. No. Yeah, chapter 3 and chapter 2. You'll find the verses about Hajj there, or about the. What's up, Mahdi? What's up, brother? Okay, I'm here. What's up, Cyrus Black? Yeah, you can. There's nothing wrong, but you have to make sure that you're talking that it's okay. So, like, just like sometimes I would quote hadith to certain individuals where I see the hadith would be directing them to what I'm trying to explain in the Quran, not in regards that this is what the Prophet said, is like this is what you guys preach, right? But the hadith is not from God, and I don't take it with that type of authority. But I would apply the same skepticism that I have on hadith to the Bible. Okay, but the thing is, the Bible's core roots, the core message originally came from God. So there's going to be some truth that align to what I have in the Quran is confirming some of what the gospel and the Torah says. So yeah, I would definitely quote. And when I talk to Christians, I like to quote certain things. Like for example, like walk with your enemy. Jesus says that. Someone slaps you, give them the other cheek. In Islam, we don't give in submission, you don't want to give the other cheek, but if you have an opportunity to forgive, forgive. But sometimes you need to stand for yourself, so don't always keep giving the other cheek. There's the parable of the lady that's judging. There's a lot of parables that are healthy for the conversation when talking with a Christian, which is beneficial. But would I make a sermon about it? Maybe if it just adds a little bit to the sermon, but no, the sermon is going to be about the remembrance of God and what I'm sure about. What I'm sure about is the Quran. And this is one of the arguments that I presented to the 5 verse 1 situation, where I'm saying, like, okay, we have this Quran that the source itself is verbatim. There's no probability here. It's 100% accurate. It's 100% authentic because God made it so. So why would I go to something cheaper than it and pretend that it's like something that's important at that point? Okay, sorry. The same, I believe. The Jews say their intentions and actions are good. Exactly. Exactly. No, the Jews' intentions is bad. They're not intending for people to become Muslims. Quite the opposite. They're trying to eliminate the message and try to turn down. But God, as He states, that the evil plan, when somebody makes an evil plan, it falls on its own people. So because they've planned for people to like get exposed about what the Quran and Muslims are, and Sunnis and Shias, they're the ones who are getting exposed. Ismail was born before Isaac. Yes, I believe he's the firstborn, but this is just implicit. Ya Akhta Harun. This is easy, bro. Khimar, certain places, yes. Exactly. Okay. Oh, yeah. I got it. Abbas, great sermon reminder today. Thank you, bro. Praise to God, the forgiving. I want to do this because I forgot my mods. May God bless you, my mods, for helping me out. Here we go. Brother, something that bothers me every month. Can women pray? Yes, they can. Because in the Quran, it's mentioned that we are... No. It says that you are impure for sexual activities, for sexual intercourse, Wendy. But it does not say that you're impure from the Quran or impure from religion. This is things that where people are taking it out of context. God states, وَمَا يُمِسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. With this, God is talking about that people will not be able to understand the Quran or not be able to actually grasp the Quran unless if they were pure inside, okay? She's not talking about physical purity. When it comes down to sex, he's talking about physical purity, where God is saying to the men, do not approach your women while they're on their menstruation cycle because it is harmful. And when they purify, then approach them. Nowhere in the Quran it tells you that you cannot do your religious duties during your menstruation. This is just them adding things that were not there. As a female, I've been trying to research it says approach them when they have purified themselves. So implied the menstruation is impure. Purified themselves, they are impure for sex. It says approach them while they have purified themselves. What is the purification process? Is them washing up. All right. So there has to be a time after the menstruation is done where the lady cleans herself. And even if her menstruation ended, by the way, okay, her menstruation ended for 2 days. It's going to sound gross. And she didn't shower and she didn't clean herself. She's still unlawful because she did not purify herself. It's not about purifying herself internally. Your prayer to God, that is something that is mandatory. It's not something that there is an optional. Like even if you are scared or on the road, I mean, like people are trying to kill you and you're on the road or running away, you can even do it while you're walking, while you're on the horse, while you're on the plane or car, whatever it is. So it's something that you should do. There is nowhere that God tells you not to pray. No, it means as the night is progressing, so the advancements of the night. So now, Habibi. Yeah, it's true. That is true. The Quran is the most mutawatir, yet they don't take it. If you're a follower of Abraham, why doesn't your book teach you to keep the covenant? God, we do have the covenant. Are there any callers today? There is. Austrian painter didn't, bro, come on. Did Mary have any brothers? No. Not from what we know from the Quran. Hi, brother. God bless you. God bless you. Can they also fast? Yes, they definitely can fast. Unless if you're feeling sick, where God states that if you're sick, then you don't have to. You do it at a different, you finish the count somewhere else. Mary didn't have any brothers. There we go. Circumcision, exactly. Zerdius, I can't add you because you don't have a mic or a cam. Let's see. Safadi. Okay, Zerdius, it worked. I'll put you next. Safadi, what's going on?
Peace.
Salam. Peace.
Or shall I say salam? Because Hashim wouldn't like it, you know?
Yeah, peace. No, I say depends on the person. But I say it however it is. But yeah. What happened to salam? Yeah, that's been a running joke. Yeah, it's funny, but
yeah, so I have a question regarding good intentions, regarding the topic that you mentioned in the sermon.
Yes.
So you said that, for example, I want to give an example. Let's say I do something good and I get praise for it. Okay? Obviously, it feels good. But at the same time, I feel a bit guilty because I'm feeling good. And it makes me think that, oh, maybe my intention is just to get praised instead of actually doing it for God alone, yani, only, solely. You know what I mean?
You're feeling guilty for the praise, but the reason why you intended it at the beginning, it does not necessitate that you were looking for the praise. When you got the praise, you started to feel guilty, where you start to think that you're feeling bad for getting praised. But it does not mean that you did the action for praising. If you did the action for praising and you're thinking that you're doing for other reasons, then it's wrong. There's somebody like there's actually a trait of certain individuals where they help somebody is just so that that person would recognize that they're a good person. It's not they're not intending just to help. They're intending to help this individual just so that that individual would think good about themselves. Right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a gray area a bit. This is why whenever I do something good,
be honest with your intentions. God understands you. You're not going to, if I said, God, I am doing this to help the person, but I also want him to recognize that I'm a pious person, or I'm intending to be a pious person, I'm honest. And because I'm honest, it's going to help me on the day of judgment. As God states that on the day of judgment, honesty is the scale. Being truthful is the scale, right? Mizan al-haq. So if you're saying the truth at all times, even when you're like bad intended, as long as you're capable of recognizing it, it's going to be for your favor. That's the whole thing. So like there are a lot of people, it's like, hey, I want to help him because I can get the problem done, but I also want him to recognize that I'm a good person. Because I know that that's what I'm thinking, I'm going to say that that's my intention. But I'm not saying that that's what I am personally, but these are things that I struggled with that I had to correct myself. Where now I don't even consider the individual, and I'm just considering the problem. I'm not serving people because serving people is going to cause you a problem. Serving your Lord means God did fix the problem, and I don't want them to recognize me. I want them to recognize the reason that I got pushed to solve it, which is God.
Yeah, I think what you said at the beginning helps a lot, because originally my intention is purely for God, but then once I get the praise, I feel good about it. Yeah.
It doesn't mean your intention changed. It means that you're enjoying the purification that God is, or the praise that God is sending you through people. Because God says, do not purify yourself. La tuzakku anfusakum, right? Like, do not purify yourself. Innama Allahu yuzakkikum. When you're getting praise and you're feeling good about yourself, this is cleaning you. This is helping you. When you're recognizing the positive that you did for people and people are saying that to you, it does improve you as a human being. And this is based upon what God has programmed. That's why it's good to recognize the good things people do to you and to give thanks to those individuals.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I think it's I'm traumatized from Sunniism, like ages ago. Like
Why, bro? When you help somebody, it's multiplied by 10, and then if you say the verse, it's multiplied by 100, and it's like you did a umrah, and it's like you prayed the whole Laylatul Qadr just by you like holding in your fart. I don't know what they say.
But I remember a sheikh saying like, "Oh, on the day of judgment, if you do something good and you feel good about someone saying, like someone praising you." It's like, oh, God will tell you, oh, khalas, you got your reward, you got your praise.
So I would feel bad for Prophet Muhammad. You know why?
Because everyone praises him right now.
No, because his name is praiseworthy.
Just like mine.
Yeah, exactly. If your name is Muhammad, then when people are saying Muhammad, you're just saying you're praiseworthy.
Good point.
Yeah, because they just don't see the technicalities of what they say and how heavy it is. There are people who do ru'a. وَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Okay, so there's people who show off and do not believe in God and the day of judgment. Those people are in trouble. But it does not mean that the person who does some ru'a and he believes in God in the last day and he's working towards God in the last day, just because he did ru'a, it does not make him a hypocrite now. But you have to recognize it. That's the truth. You have to recognize it.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself always. Inshallah, we're always honest with ourselves.
Yeah, it's like it's very easy to justify.
Yeah, and also I wanted to mention the Leafy situation. So I heard the whole thing. It was very annoying to hear because they're all basically just 5v1, and they're just trying to pick at words as well. Like, they want to set up a trap and for you to fall. And also, I commented on that video. So he was like, you know how in the beginning he was calling you a kafir. I'm not sure if you noticed that.
Yeah, I heard, and I overlooked it. Yeah, as the guy was saying salam, he goes, no, this guy's a hadith rejector. This guy's a kafir. This guy, I heard him.
Exactly.
He kept saying that. I know.
Exactly. And then at the end of the session, after they kicked you out, he was like, these guys, they wanna just interpret the Quran for themselves. And when he quoted a verse talking about how we should all basically cling on the rope of Allah.
Yeah, what does that mean?
And if we all have different interpretations, we're not going to be able to cling on the rope of Allah. So I told him it's basically hypocritical that he said that he's trying to push you out of the religion. And then he's saying, we need to cling on the rope of Allah. And that basically Sunnis are not even united. Yani. I don't know what he's talking about. They always fight with each other, call each other mushriks and kafirs.
Yeah. There's a guy, Islamic Apex, he said the same verse, okay? Because I feel like the thing is it's like a wave. When somebody makes like one comment where they think they got the Quran alone, people, like you see everybody for like 10 in the next 10 days or 15 days repeating the same thing. So the guy said the same thing. It's like, hold on to the rope of God, and that everyone else is breaking off from their ropes of Sunnism. And I said, is Sunnism divided? He goes, yeah, there's Ahzab. And I was like, okay, كل حزب بما لديهم فرحون. Every faction is happy with what they get. And he goes, sectarianism is a must in religion. And I go, then you're talking about the rope of God. The next verse says that the people who like segregated their religion are have a painful punishment. So you're saying that it's must for them to segregate their religion. They don't know what they're saying. They truly don't know. They take verses in isolation, forgetting the rest of the Quran. You know what I mean? So they were trying to pin me that the Quran is probabilistic in the way that you interpret it. So you need to take the probability of somebody else. That's how far they wanted to go. But they don't let you speak because they think that them over-explaining and repeating themselves is going to win them the debate. This is what they constantly do, and I dislike it. So, for example, I'll say, and we did not send a messenger except to be obeyed by the permission of God. So messengers are in a position of leadership. I made my point. Okay. But what they do is, we did not send any messenger except to be obeyed by the permission of God. So now the messenger here by God is saying that he's a leader, and because in the Quran it says to obey the messenger means now you have to follow the messenger, and there's a verse that says to follow the messenger. So the messenger is the leader, and because he's the leader, now you have a problem because it says obey by, and they just keep doing that.
And I think you said a good point 2 days ago when you streamed. You said that if they believe that hadith is revelation, that means obeying God and obeying the messenger is basically just obeying God, because hadith is revelation as well.
I crushed them with that point. Okay, so obeying God is the Quran, right? Why? Oh, the Quran came from God. That's obeying God. Okay. But what's obey the messenger? Oh, obey hadith. Is the hadith revelation? Yeah. So where did it come from? God. So I'm obeying God. The exact same thing you're saying about the Quran.
Exactly. They just can't see it. They just keep calling this prophets.
The thing is, there's some debate tactics, but the majority of the people on TikTok, they're not very not debate tactics, but debate points that the people don't know what they read. They don't know what they're on about. So you need somebody who's a little bit more studied, so you could use these examples on them, and it truly shows them how they're completely crumbled. So there's a verse right here, okay? There's a verse. This one is it's hard for people to other than. So what about this verse? Who's this talking about? They're gonna talk about asbab al-nuzul and all of this, but the verse is very clear. Tell me, brother, who do you think God is talking about here? Do you want it in Arabic or English?
Both. It's fine.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ويقولون طاعة فإذا برزوا من عندك بيت طائفة منهم غير الذي تقول والله يكتب ما يبيتون فاعرض عنهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. And they say obedience. Who's they?
Who's they? The hypocrites, I guess.
Sahaba.
Okay.
Here, they is the believers, the people around the Prophet.
Yeah.
They say obedience, but when they go away from you, a fraction of them say or contrive other than what you say. Right? But God records what they contrive. So they're saying things other than what the Prophet said. How do you know that these people didn't narrate hadith? Because you don't know them all. Sahulullah.
Not just that, they came years after his death as well. So
Right. But let's assume some of these people narrated some hadith that came, and now you're taking hadith of somebody who changed what the Prophet said. Okay?
Yeah.
But this now is about the technicalities of what is that. Why is God says bayyata, which is something that you do at night, technically.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then you could go to verse, there's a verse in chapter 33 which is killer to them. But it's hard to explain it just to the layman, okay? And it has the word hadith in it. They
don't interpret hadith as actual hadith in the Quran. That's what I understood from them recently.
This is killer. This verse here is killer, okay? Okay, listen to this. O you who believe, do not enter the houses of the Prophet unless you have permission for a meal, without waiting in patience. Unless when you are invited, then enter, and when you have eaten, and then disperse, and do not invoke for hadith, is what it's saying. It says right here, look, it says, فَانْتَشِرُوا وَلَا مُتَآنِسِينَ لِحَدِيث. Why? إِنَّ ذَلِكُمْ كَانَ يُؤْذِي النَّبِيِّ. Indeed, that is offending the Prophet. It used to hurt the Prophet. The hadith, you trying to pull hadith from the Prophet and the Prophet having hadith used to hurt the Prophet. Why do you think it hurts the Prophet?
Because they're creating things that he didn't say, or they're like basically ascribing things to him that he didn't say.
Perfect.
To a certain extent.
But there's another thing. Me, as a person who is not a prophet, nowhere near to the intellect level of Prophet Muhammad, nor do I have the support that Prophet Muhammad had, I can foresee right now, if we have a big bang and the Quran alone community becomes really widespread and we have a huge group which are now called the Quran alone believers, the problem within my community is going to be the non-ritual people. That's where sectarianism going to start. Ritual and non-ritual, and they're going to start to fight. Okay? So I could foresee the problem in my community. Now, Prophet Muhammad, who's a lot better than most of us, I don't know, I can't say all, most of us, he knew that the hadith is going to be the problem. And God says the hadith hurts the Prophet.
That's actually a very good point. I never actually saw it this way.
These points, I can crush them in, because the only thing they run to, asbab al-nuzul. Okay, but it's clear, isn't it? Yes, it is, but asbab al-nuzul.
But they can't argue with you about asbab al-nuzul, because we don't believe in that. We don't believe in
Oh, Habibi, asbab al-nuzul is one of the funniest sciences you can have, because it's like I can give you a sabab that denies the other sabab, but they will go the one with the one that's contradicting the first one. So I'll cherry pick.
And probabilistic. They talk about probabilistic and quantum physics, and I don't know what they're comparing quantum physics to.
He made an error with the quantum physics when he says your computer is running by quantum physics.
Yeah. I actually showed my cousin today. He's like, does he not know what quantum physics is?
I mean, technically, quantum physics is giving you your natural physics, but people don't study quantum physics to build a computer.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to.
Okay, but brother, I have like 10 people in the queue, and this thing doesn't allow more than 10 people. So
it's fine. Yeah, thank you. We'll speak soon, inshallah.
God bless you. Salam.
God bless you, Habib. Salam.
Zardius.
Well, salam, brother.
Salam. What happened to salam?
Peace.
Peace.
Like there's this verse right in the Quran, and I've been really thinking about it. I think it's chapter 88, verse 16. It's the one that goes like, "Do you not see the camels, how they were created?"
Yes.
So like, I don't know if I'm cooking here, but 2 verses later, like it goes in. It's like talking about the eyesight. And like Allah is making it in a way where it's like something wondrous, like a miracle, like the creation of the camel is a miracle. And then the next verse, there's like 2 verses that talk about a different creation. And then the third verse, it's in the context of looking. Do they not see the earth, how it was spread, or some translations have us flattened, right? But like it's like Allah is saying that them seeing the earth as flat is a miracle, and it would only be a miracle if it isn't flat.
No,
like
you're right, and that's exactly how I see it. Like God is saying, do you see how we made it like flat for you, right? And when you go out, and let's assume, and I do believe so, that the world is a globe. As the world is a globe, to you, God made it flat.
Yeah, and like Allah is saying that's a
huge miracle for me. To me, that's a huge miracle that you really do not know the plan of God.
Yeah, I know. I was like, whoa, because like it's in the context of miracles, seeing the camel, seeing this, seeing that, and then like them seeing the earth is flat. Then people will be like, oh, we already know the earth is flat. But like Allah is telling them like 1400 years ago that it's a miracle.
But yeah, this is أَفَلَا يَنْظِرُونَ, which is now phenomenological. It's from your eyes. Have you not seen that the earth is flat?
Yeah.
Right. So it's not talking about the actual shape. But for me, yes, I also see that. Like, hey, like you're on a ball, but look how I made it flat for you. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it truly is an amazing thing where it's like you do not know the plan of God, and God is telling you things to show how much favor He has given you. And it shows how small you are as well.
Yeah. Like I've been debating a few Christians on the Islamic dilemma. I always school them, bro, all the time. Like I'll show them evidences on evidences, and they'll be like, "Actually, you know what? That's actually true." You know, a few of them, and like, yeah, I'm just like, I don't know if you would. I don't know if you did agree with me on like some of the points that I made. You know.
Yes, some of the points that you said, yes, this is how I view it too. But this is more so of the nuanced nuanced like discussion, if it's going to be a deep discussion on how the Injil and the Torah actually apply, and how there some of it is kind of found in the Quran, and the meaning of the Torah, the meaning of the Injil, how the book can be understood differently, what the book of Moses is, what the Torah is. And you can see in my streams, I don't say that the book of Moses equals Torah. No, I don't do it right
I
there.
agree.
People assume, but
Yeah.
Musa was given the Torah. Yes, the book
Yeah.
that we know as the Torah was completed technically, from what I understand, after Musa. But he was given a book. Yes.
Yeah. Like
Because he
the
says
other thing was,
min qablu
yeah.
kitab Musa, right? But he never says that we gave Moses the Torah.
Yeah. And
Right. But
another thing is, yeah, sorry.
the Torah is used by the prophets to judge. So the Torah
Mhm.
is something that was constantly kind of evolving with certain of the prophets that were sent. For example, Dawood, Sulaiman, they would add new laws, and that would become part of the Torah. But Dawood's a
Yeah.
little special because he was also given Zabur, right? But no, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that what they did was add parts of the Torah. No, I mean they established the law before Dawood. Sorry, I made a mistake. They established the law before Dawood with people after Moses as well, which God has fulfilled the Torah at that point. So they inherited the
Yeah.
Torah, David, Solomon, and then also Jesus.
Yeah.
But
Like
there's no verse that explicitly or implicitly tells you that Moses was given the Torah.
yeah. Another thing like Christians won't say to you is that when they say that they're going to preach the gospel, I tell them, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like when it says Mary Magdalene was possessed or something? They'll say no. They'll say that the gospel is Jesus died, rose on the third day, and he's God. I'm like, okay, that's not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Because then they have
No.
verses in the Bible that's like where it says Jesus preached the gospel here, the gospel there. And according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, that gospel isn't them like him dying. It's like always the gospel of the kingdom of God is coming, repent.
They
You
gave
know?
you a seerah. They gave you a seerah. The Gospels, what they call the Gospels today, is the or the biography of Jesus, of what they recount, with some gospel in it. Okay,
Yeah.
so they gave you the seerah with some of what Jesus preached from the gospel. You don't
Yeah.
like it's for me the gospel is the parables.
Oh, yeah. Do you mean it's literally called the gospel parables. It's like
No, I
that's
mean in the 4 books that they call the Gospels,
oh
within
yeah,
them there's parables, and those
yeah,
parables is the actual gospel. The life of Jesus and what he did and what he didn't do, this is irrelevant to you.
yeah,
This is just like the Sirat al-Nabi, it's like it's good history, but it has nothing to do with what Jesus was truly teaching the people. He was teaching them the religion and how to deal with the Pharisees. So it was the parables that was the teaching, and that was he was inspiring him
yeah.
with, which is what I understood as the Injil.
That's interesting. I do agree. Like the parables. What's interesting is that they don't even say that he's God or that he's going to die for the sins of the world. Like it doesn't even say that. It just says like it just gives examples or like stories of how God changes things and like transforms and like um things like that. But even if you didn't have those parables, like the message would still be
No,
repent for the kingdom of God is coming. And I take that the Quran says that yes, that's true, but it's so weird when Christians are like, oh no, the 4 gospels is the gospel. That's just so dishonest. That is so
no.
dishonest of them,
Yeah, but
because
that's
even to them, it's not. Yeah,
yeah, trying to argue that point, it makes no sense, because yes, it's obvious that they themselves, as their own historians, don't agree with that point. But you can't save
yeah,
somebody from their own delusions. They have to recognize it themselves. You tell them the truth and you move on. That's it.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, bro. I
Yeah.
do have
All
a
right,
whole
bro.
list of people. So
Yeah, bro. Peace.
peace. Marwa.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Well, it's my first time to join your stream. I've been honestly, I'm not affiliated to any grouping. Basically, I'm a Muslim, And from what I've been going through on my research in learning Quran, to tell you the truth, I've been going around and seeing in every certain group there are certain things that I agree with and certain things that I don't agree with. And more or less the main issues that I found that there are certain points in Quran and in faith and in Aqidah, in our creed, that has been under the issue of forgetfulness, like certain things that has been already kind of we're in the test of being or forgetting what we were reminded with. And one of these things that I feel it's a big issue, and I don't see anybody discussing it. It's not even around in any certain text or literature, and it has a huge impact in Quran, which is our covenant of the 4 month, or actually of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the first verse. It talks about our covenant with God. أوفوا بالعقود. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أوفوا بالعقود. أحلت لكم بهيمة الأنعام غير محل الصيد وأنتم حرم. This part of the religion, as far as I have been studying it, and as far as I believe it has its importance, I don't see anybody mentioning it or even practicing it. What is your take on that part?
Sorry, sister, but even in Saudi Arabia, they do practice that. You can't hunt land. You can't hunt on the land in Mecca, even outside the 4 sacred mosques. So you can't hunt birds, and you can't hunt like gazelles and stuff within the premises of Mecca, within the months and without outside the month. But I think there is an extension to it as well.
Hajj, in the month of al-Hurum, Ashur al-Hurum, they don't hunt.
And there's a general law in Mecca by the Saudi government that you're not allowed to kill birds and animals of prey within the bounds of Mecca. So that would include the 4 sacred mosques.
How about the Ihram al-Zamani?
What do you mean Ihram al-Zamani?
So in the ayah, you will find there are 2 things that are mentioned as ihram. Okay, al-Shahr al-Haram wal-Bayt al-Haram.
Okay,
we have 2 forms of ihram.
Ihram is what God has made sacred. Now, there's the months that are sacred, and then there's the house that is sacred.
Yes.
But there's also when you are in ihram.
Yes.
When you're in ihram means you are a person that has committed to the Hajj.
Yes, because you are basically in the house and in the month.
Right, exactly. And you are intending the pilgrimage. So God states, he puts 3 rules. فَلَا جِدَالَ وَلَا رَفْثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ. Okay, so there's no debating, there's no arguing, there's no
in the Hajj itself. That's in the Hajj itself. However, our covenant is based upon something that is, we are given the an'am, which are the 4 types of الإبل in سورة الأنعام الإبل والبقر والماعز والضأن. Okay.
God states about 4 pairs, but I think it's more than that, but yes.
I think there are 4 pairs, and they are tanzil, and
but I think it's 4 categories, right? So tanzil doesn't mean that they came from the sky. God has brought it down to us.
Actually, it is they are said they are وأنزل إليكم الأنعام. Al-An'am is one of the only things that have got even used in Surah Yasin, and he said that they were made by his hands. Just like they have a special place in religion. The covenant that we have is based upon our contract about An'am. Okay, and the reason why we do Hajj is basically to thank God and to remember his name on An'am.
Right.
And of course, none of this is being practiced. None of this is even being put up front. However,
you're right. This is actually something So I am working on a Hajj video where I touch on the subject, where you are supposed to have these animals with you during your Hajj so that you would say the name of God on it, and then you sacrifice it, and it should be sacrificed close to the haram, and then you're supposed to feed the people around the haram. So I do
And eat
agree with
from it.
you.
Yes.
And eat,
And
and you
eat
have to
from
eat from it. Yeah.
Yes. But the thing is, in the contract, the أوفوا بالعقود أحلت لكم بهيمة الأنعام غير محل الصيد وأنتم حرم, that is our عقد دين. This is our covenant. So basically, the covenant that we're being given it lays upon a certain ruling that when we are hurum, and it is not mentioned how that it is not it's not implied that it is only haram makani, which is the Kaaba, because you also have haram zamani. You
Yeah,
are
God says,
also
وَلَا تَظْلِمُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ فِيهِم, which is a shahr.
الأشهر الحرم. These are the 4 months of فسيحوا في الأرض أربعة سورة التوبة and سورة I mean, there are so many things about it. However, the thing is, in these 4 months, the ruling is not to kill. Okay?
Right,
You
right.
cannot go and do war. You cannot wage war. Same ruling as you cannot also kill in haram. You cannot wage war in haram. And these two places or these two states connotates that basically our religion, and when you go around the area, you see أحل لكم صيد البحر وطعامه. So here side, okay, side is related not just to the hobby of hunting, it is about hunting and eating, because you only
Right.
hunt to eat in Islam.
Correct.
And by what is being allowed, البحر وطعامه. And the kafara, the only kafara of blood, the only one in the whole religion, even when you kill mistakenly, you don't have a blood kafara. This is the only kafara when you kill when you kill side bar وأنتم وإحنا حرم. Okay, that is basically the only blood kafara that we
Hunt.
have.
It's not kill, it's hunt.
Kill,
So
kill, kill.
if
قتلتم الصيد.
a side, okay.
قتلتم الصيد.
Yeah, but it has to have side in it.
Of
So
course.
if I'm raising a chicken at home,
Uh,
this is not side.
you know, of course it is, because ما تناله أيديكم ورماحكم. So
من
what's
الصيد.
من الصيد?
Yeah,
Side is you basically all the animals, we are not owning them, except for what we have in our contract ما ملكنا, which is the 4 kinds of an'am, or the 4 types of an'am. Okay, these are we own them. We are like we malaknahum an'amakum. Okay, in
okay.
Surah Yasin also there is an ayah that talks about that.
Sister, I'm following what you're saying. So are you saying that during the 4 months of ihram, you wouldn't agree that you shouldn't be eating chicken?
Yeah, you shouldn't be eating side bar. Can be eating
Birds
side
at this
bah.
point, because you're not including the 4 pairs that God has given you, like the camel, the
These you eat.
cow.
These you eat. You, even if you do something by accidentally killing any of them, you have the kafara, either saum or fadu by جزاء مثل ما قتل من الصيد from الأنعام. So basically, we are everything like ملكة اليمين, or everything. We are in a contract that God made these animals ours in our contract. And by that, we have also the ritual of Hajj, to thank God on what He gave us and to remember His name, Allah, as the one who owns everything, because Allah has a meaning. And with that, we have a whole, this is not just related also to only us, this is something that has been always there. It can be even traced to the concept of Shemitah, that is similar but not the same. And its origin can be found in Surah Yusuf, about the 7 months and the 7 months al-Agaf, where we have in Shemitah, which is the Hebrew word for the sabbatical 7th year, where they don't eat from whatever the earth brings. So the earth has a time to rejuvenate, and they don't take from it the harvest. That is their law and their law. And one of the ways of observing the Sabbath. And for us, we have the 4 months, the 4 sacred months. Now the question is, if my covenant is based upon these 4 items, or this idea of not hunting and eating the prey, okay? If it is such a trivial thing that people pass by and is not felt, not practiced, can it actually be the basis of our covenant when it doesn't have any weight in the practice? Because
Uh,
the way it's being practiced, it's not there.
I can. Okay, so the thing is, there is some points of contentions which I have to personally go look into, because I see the argument that you're making, and the argument that you're making is it's a strong argument, but I have to understand on the principle of sorry, غير محلي الصيد وأنتم حرم. So I just have to understand the word حرم, if it's inclusive, right, to just the monthly, or do you have to be
Go to the
both?
ayah right afterwards. You will find it.
I can't take it in. I can't take it. I can't take it in isolation. So I
Of
would have
course.
to. Yes. So I would believe that it's both location and time. Okay. So the time and the location needs to be present for you to be hurum. It's not like I'm me here in Canada now. I'm in state of hurum every 4 months of the year. This is where I don't assume
But
that you're accurate, but I would have to look into it.
But I tell you something, when you cannot, for instance, in the 4 months, that to do any kind of aggression, because in these 4 months, you will have whatever, this kind of keeping yourself away from fighting, keeping away from arguments, keeping away from all these things. This is valid everywhere. Like the 4 months, you cannot go wage war even outside of Mecca. You know what I mean? So
You're
the state
making a
of
strong point.
ihram,
I get what you're making, a strong point. So this is something that needs to be pondered upon. I need to sit back and ponder upon, because Habibi, 1 second. May God bless you. This is going to go to the kids in Gaza. The 300 euros. Let me write that down, because this one is going. This 300 after the YouTube fees and everything else. I'm gonna put that one to Gaza. Okay, brother. God bless you. So let me put here. Shorluni 300 minus YouTube fees for Gaza. God bless you, bro. You do make a very compelling argument.
thing is, I've been going through it for a while, for years now, studying and going through it and seeing much of the ayat, and even with the literature, the hadith literature, which personally I take it under the haymanat of Quran. I don't omit all of it, and I don't, like I do with the gospel and the Torah. That is my stand
Quranic
with it.
centric. I understand this, but the argument you're presenting is compelling. It makes sense. So I can't say that it's incorrect. I don't see there is some ta'wil here, but I don't find a verse right now in the way, from what I remember and what I recall in regards to ihram, on how it would
There is a
denounce what you're
hadith,
saying.
and I'm not using it as one. I sometimes find there are certain things that I believe is still there
So
and valid.
here's my question. Here's my
Yeah.
question. If I am here and it's during the sacred times, the sacred months, and I purposefully sacrifice a chicken and eat it, how do I now pay its price at the Kaaba if I'm not at the
You
Kaaba?
don't have to do it. You can do the alternatives. You can do fasting. You can pay like the ransom of food for a miskin. There
That
are
is
alternatives.
if I could not find a hadith.
That is, if you're not by mahal, because if you're not by mahal al-Kaaba, هديا بالغ الكعبة, أو عدل ذلك صياما, أو so there are alternatives. In fact, if you think about it, if that is only in Hajj, okay, and let's say you do another mistake of shortening the hair or not being able to reach a place like ihsar, okay, you will have to do 3 fasting and 7 when you return, right?
Your argument is very strong.
So that will make you not somehow possibly able to do it all, the fasting in the 5 days or maximum 6
No,
of
you're
Hajj.
supposed you're gonna do the 3 days of fasting in the Hajj, and then when you come back, you have the 7 that's due.
7 days. But what if you do another mistake of killing during a haram? How would you? So you will have to do an alternative in case of you do these 3, or you can have, or you won't be able to do it both ways. I mean, there is, the thing is, this kind of, even in Hajj, okay, people eat chicken normally. I've seen that.
Al-Bayk.
There is no kind of there are even sometimes some people here, when they tell people in the who cannot sacrifice and go to Hajj, and they want it, and they're kind of poor or anything, you go sacrifice a chicken. Okay, now what
I have
is
to.
Halalu Aydikum in that
Sister,
case? In that case,
sister.
yeah,
Honestly, this is the first time this argument is being presented to me, and I need to. I can't say you're right or wrong until I have to go
sure.
back and read into it. At this point, in the way that you presented, I can't say you're wrong. So I have to be honest. At this point, the way that you're presenting this, if we're not going to take the okay, so I have to be very careful in what I say. So this is what you're presenting is something that I have to look into. God bless you, Top Flora. God bless you, all you guys that are helping out in the streams. The presentation that you're making, my sister, is a strong presentation. It is hard to refute, and the only thing is now we have to focus on the word "wantum hurum."
Sure. And
So
just
you
to
gotta give me
add,
time. I'm
sure,
not. I'm telling you, I need time. I
sure.
can't.
Okay, I'm just giving you some of the caveats about it, just that to know that Ashur al-Hurum, it is said to be in Quran that there will be kufr about them.
Right.
And
I'll tell
Surah
you. I'll tell you my
Al-Ma'idah,
understanding. My
sure.
Ashhur al-Hurum is Ramadan and all the way to the end. There are 4 consecutive, starting with Ramadan.
There are 7. There are the 7th. I mean, the known ones are Rajab. So you have the 1st and the 7th. Okay, the 1st and the 7th, and that makes a huge sense in this idea of the 1 and 7 because of certain things about layers. I mean, there are certain esoteric things even about it. When you go through it, it's, and then you have from 11, 12, and 1. So 10, 11, and 1, 3 consecutive ones. And then on the other hand is the 7th. So you have 4 Ashhur Hurum and 8 not Hurum. And you have 8 pairs of An'am and 4 kinds of An'am. And this goes along. There are so many things when you go through it about, you derive information from it. It's a plethora. And also another thing that I want to mention about it is that in I was just going to say something about Surah Al-Ma'idah. Surah Al-Ma'idah is about how all the previous people of the book forgot their covenants. And that is a very huge warning to us when we see something like this and the state we are in. So ولقد عهدنا بني إسرائيل ونسوا حظا مما ذكروا به والنصارى نسوا حظا مما ذكروا به فأغرينا بينهم العداوة. So somehow what I believe we are in right now is a very, regarding especially this aspect, a very similar state to what has happened before. So just to say how the context even of the surah comes about this idea and about this covenant and where it stands. I know you have to look through it. Jazakallah khair. If you, I mean, I would really love to know your feedback. You have and to see further. And if you want any more, like the detailed work about it for like an argument, I can definitely contact like an email or anything if you have,
Yeah.
and or I can give you my email.
I'll put my email in the chat, like the public chat. Yeah, because this one's a little pressing. You did present something to me that I haven't thought about before, but what you presented makes some sense. So I have to look into it.
Sure. Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Momaki,
Yo,
what's going on?
Salam. I have a question regarding a verse. I saw some Christian giving this argument, trying to discredit the Quran, saying, the verse about.
Can I make a guess? Can I make a guess, Momaki?
It's not the Islamic dilemma. It's not.
No, is it? But can I make a guess?
Sure.
Is it about Mary?
About what?
Mary.
No.
Oh man. Okay, let me see the other ones that Christians usually use. So there's the one about Mary. There's the one
This
about.
is a new one. I feel like I haven't heard it before.
Is it Gabriel and the Holy Spirit?
No, it's more of a petty one. It's more of a petty one.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
You know the verse where the ant says, "Oh, ant, Solomon is coming," and and they say like this is like unscientific. But for me, when I read the verse, it feels like just God explaining in human words how the ants are communicating. I don't think the ants in this verse are saying literally Solomon and saying "Oh, ants" to each other. But I saw this argument, and what do you think about?
Okay, I'll 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I want to show you something. There it is. So in this verse right here, share this to the. This is in 1 Kings. This is about Solomon. Right? He also spoke about animals and birds and reptiles. But some people translated this from them, right, as he had the ability to understand the language of animal, birds, and even insects. This is in their midrashim, right? And he was capable of telling them the stories of the animals, birds, and reptiles and fish. So they themselves have the idea that he was talking to animals.
Yeah. But I don't think that's their argument with this verse, what I've seen.
Yeah, they're saying that it's unscientific.
Yeah.
Yes, but if Solomon has the ability to converse with birds, why would it be a problematic for him to converse with ants? And you are right. I would actually approach it in the same manner that you did, which is to say that the ant communicated. It does not necessitate that it spoke language.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Because their argument is that, yes, I think they believe also that Solomon can speak to animals, but they say that this verse is saying that the ants spoke to each other, and that one ant said, "Oh, ants, Solomon is coming." I don't remember the whole exact verse. So they say so this is saying that the ants are literally saying these words to each other. And not for me, I don't understand the verse that way. I feel like it just God saying that they communicated and he explained it in human wording.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there's a few ways to go at that argument, but this argument does not negate the fact on what the Quran presents. So there's certain things where Solomon as well did in the Quran, right, that they do not have in their Gospels or the Torah. There is actually a folklore, I remember seeing it somewhere, where the Jews say that Solomon talked with the ant, but the ant was disrespectful disrespectful to Solomon. Solomon threw the ant, where they made Solomon look like a bad guy while the ant was making fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a folk story about that, which would again go back to certain stuff in the Quran. Not everything that they're presented in the Bible in this day and age is all their material. So some of it is sahih, some of it isn't, and they get to pick and choose, you know?
It's like the hadith for Sunnis.
Exactly. But it's exactly it. But one has God as the source and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, you
Yeah.
approached it right. It doesn't, because I'll show you a verse where the word qawl, right? Qawl, it does not necessitate where something is spoken, where it's something communicated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So for me, the verse, it seems pretty obviously that it's not like exactly quoting that the ants said, "Oh, ants, Solomon is coming." I think it just said
But,
that
but it was talking to the other ants then.
it's communicating to other ants the way ants communicate. We don't know
And
how
then he
that.
noticed that communication.
Yes, and he's explaining it in human form, right?
I believe he heard it. And the reason why I know that he heard it, okay, I say I know, he had jinn under him, right?
That's also an interesting topic regarding jinn. I haven't heard.
I'll tell you this. He had jinn under him. Jinn is capable of telling you what the animal thinks or says.
Yeah.
The thing with the birds is Solomon is hearing the voice itself, like the chirping, and he is capable of understanding from the chirping what it's saying. But there's people who are like dog whisperers and cat whisperers and stuff that they will tell you it's like they're hearing the voice of what the cat is saying. But a lot of people say, well, no, that's crazy.
No, but yeah, I think Christians.
And do you know how ants communicate?
I
They
don't know
literally
exactly.
touch each other. They touch each other, and their communication is when they touch.
Okay.
Seems like they're speaking to each other. Yeah, watch
Yeah.
ants. Like if an ant finds some food, it will go to the closest ant, touch it, and then that other ant gets really excited and it'll go back home.
Yeah.
Like, how did it know?
Yeah, I've seen a video where like an ant is found food, and then he says gets the other ant, and then the human removes the food, and the ants get mad at him, and I don't know if you've seen the video, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, bro. Like the earlier conversation with that sister Marwa she made a point where it's like it's something that was evident, but I don't want to. Anyways, it's a deeper conversation. It's just because you sometimes realize that maybe you're defining things based upon what you were told before, and then you forget certain words need to also be reevaluated, and what she said is a proper evaluation of the word haram. So
It was her argument that you cannot eat meat
not
throughout
meat.
the.
She didn't say meat. She said anything that's huntable. So there's things that God has created for us, like the sheep, the cow, like camels, and there's another one, and they come in pairs as well. So goats, camels, sheep, where you don't hunt them. There's no need to hunt. They're literally just sitting there waiting for you to eat them. But then something like a chicken and birds and rabbits and the other things, which are edible, they need to be hunted. She's stating that in the 4 sacred months, that you shouldn't be eating anything that is huntable, that's what the Quran states. But I always, yeah. Anyways, let's. I just need to
Yeah,
investigate before I move.
that's interesting. But
Chicken is
one last.
domesticated though, but it still runs when you want to. Like, I don't. It's not about the running. Chicken is domesticated, and that's why I brought up the example of a chicken, because a chicken is not something that you truly hunt. It's not game. Exactly, chicken is not game. That's where it's a bird, but it's not huntable. Like, you don't need to hunt a
Yeah, I
chicken.
don't think you really need to hunt a chicken. It's pretty easy to catch them.
There's no side in the chicken, right?
Yeah.
Not. Anyways, I gotta think about it. But like birds are game, pigeons are game. You can't eat pigeons while you're in ihram.
Can I ask you one more thing? Regarding cousin marriage, would you consider that forbidden? Because
No, God didn't forbid it.
you would agree that any marriage that is harmful is forbidden, right?
No, bro. Consecutive uh, internal marriages is harmful. One deal isn't. You bearing cousins from cousins to cousins to cousins to cousins causes incest. It's not incest, but it causes diseases. But one marrying a cousin does not make you automatically going to create disease.
But it would it's a way higher chance, though, isn't it?
Even there's other things that increases the chances of deformations other than what people are considering as incest. And plus, those studies are not conclusive, Harry.
Okay, guys.
It's very difficult to test because even if you had an incest marriage, I don't know why I keep saying incest, a cousin marriage, you have one of your child is not deformed and the other one's deformed, so they say it creates a higher risk, right? But then what about the previous generations where they did have the same like cousin marriages, yet the seed is fine, the whole seed is fine, they don't have that. So the factors could be different in this day and age.
Yeah, because my thought was like, what I've heard is that it's way higher chance that the child becomes disabled, right? So my thought process was that if it's harmful, then I would deem it forbidden today if it's not at necessity. But you say otherwise.
I don't say it's forbidden. No, I don't say it's forbidden. God tells you what it's forbidden. To say that it's forbidden or not, I can't say that.
Okay, yeah, that was that's one thing the Christians say about Muslims, that you're allowed to marry your cousin, but if it's allowed to be
there is ways to also understand where it's like it's almost it felt that the prophet was being told that he could marry his cousins, but it did not add the believers there. But I would still
same
say that
thing.
it's permissible because there's no forbidding to the cousin.
Yeah, but like you said, if it's too many cousins, right? If it's a lot of cousins marrying cousins, then
Consecutively. Then it causes
consecutively,
disease.
then it's harmful. Then I would logically deem it forbidden, because any marriage that's harmful is forbidden, right?
It's not necessary. It's increasing the risk is still in the hands of God, brother. I
Okay.
can't tell you that it's forbidden just because there's an issue with it. And oh, there we go. DMG is saying something which is I was trying to explain is that yes, it was talked about the prophet, but it does not explicitly say that it's for the believers as well, which somebody can make an argument. I can't tell you forbidden or not forbidden. أحل لكم, right? And yeah, man, I gotta think about it. But
All right. Thank you for answering my questions.
cool, Mamoki. It's nice seeing you as
Assalamu alaikum.
always. Walaikum salam. Peace.
Peace.
Pillars of the temple. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Salam, peace.
Salam.
I was
Peace
on your
be upon you.
channel a few months
A
ago.
few months ago, and you are a person that was in the Kabbalah. Was it? No, you did the
Kabbalah. Yes,
Yeah, I was
I
right.
follow Kabbalah, and yes, I wanted to address. You mentioned the necklace I was wearing. Yes, I am a Mason. I am a Mason from the ancient craft masonry. I wasn't trying to hide it. I just didn't feel like addressing that at that time or speaking about that because there's so much
You
questions
watched
and so.
you watched the episode a few times. I feel like
No, yeah, I didn't. I went back and watched it once, and I felt bad that I didn't address that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I was in the mountains for the past few months. I live in the Arctic, in the Canadian Arctic, in the Yukon actually. So yeah, I just finally got out of the mountains, and I'm back in civilization. I had a few questions to ask. Um, and one of them is there's a few of them. One of them is in regard to taking inspiration from something which is outside of the uh, Quran. And when I say that, I don't mean adopting something as being religious law or religious practice, but being uh, inspired or moved, or perhaps even acting upon something that is outside of the Quran. However, it is not negated by the Quran. It does not take the place or equal of the Quran. And, like it's not seen as being rival to the Quran. It doesn't directly contradict the Quran. Um, like what is the opinion on that from a purely Islamic standpoint or Quran-based standpoint?
So knowledge can come from anywhere, inspiration can come from anywhere, but the Quran is the criterion. So when you are looking at this other material, if it contradicts the Quran wins. And if
Okay.
it's something that you cannot substantiate with the Quran, then it's either knowledge that can be explored, but it's not religious knowledge and it shouldn't be applied as religious knowledge. Or if it can be
Okay.
substantiated by the Quran, then it's something that needs to be investigated in such a lens. So one of the
Okay.
things, for example, is like we can talk about mysticism or the spirituality of the underworld, for example, like
Mhm.
jinn, okay, demons. This is
Mhm.
something that is substantiated by the Quran, but the Quran is not teaching you on how to communicate with such a medium.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been trying to refine, and it's kind of like a dynamic thing, trying to refine a flow chart. If let's say I'm studying the Apocrypha, I study Gnostic Gospels, right? And I see something in one of these apocryphal sources, and I think, this is quite interesting. There's even some things that there's even some teachings or doctrines in the Apocrypha, such as like the Gospel of Thomas, which almost word for word we find similar things in the Quran, such as Yeshua, when he was turning the clay into birds, essentially, right? Like this is in the infancy gospel of Thomas.
Right.
Yeah, so essentially trying to use the Quran as like Furqan, or like the ultimate judge of certain things. And not abrogating the Quran, because I know that can become kind of dangerous territory. And one of the
Very.
reasons I brought this up was because there is something which I find is substantiated by the Quran, and that is Wajat al-Wujud of Ibn Arabi. Like this concept of return of everything unto the singularity of Allah. And that includes every soul. According to Ibn Arabi, every nafesh will have redemption. And that's based on his interpretation from the Quran, as he quotes 57:5 in his Fusus al-Hikam. And he quotes, there is another verse, one moment, 21:33. So are you familiar? I'm sure you know of Wajat al-Wujud.
Wahdat al-Wujud. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So can this be substantiated from a Quranic basis? Could this be a plausible
Um,
teaching?
so God states that to him we belong and to him we will return. So since we are returning to God means we came from God. To state that we become a single essence, I cannot substantiate that.
Okay.
But the concept of singularity and collectiveness within the spiritual realm exists.
Okay.
In the Quran. In the Quran.
Yeah, so I meant more in the context of this idea of a timeless punishment of the soul. Let's say if a soul is committing sin, a soul is condemned to Jahannam, because
Yes.
eternity is still eternity is. I could be wrong about this. I'm actually not going to claim this with absolution.
I'll show you a verse.
Sure.
One second. Wow. And this is interpretation, so it's not like I just need to find the verse. Okay, so this verse can be understood by what you're saying to a certain degree. Did you say the verse 31:28?
No, I can open it up now though.
Okay,
Uh,
so
sorry, I'm not very technologically savvy. So.
One second.
Okay. Amen.
Okay, so there's a few verses that you can place together to make a presentation. Again, this is interpretation, which I don't try to pass off interpretations as an exegesis. So this is in regards to verses that are similar in nature. So I do not know their interpretations, but this is something that can be understood. I'm not saying that this is the case, or this is just like the forward, okay? Like, this is not financial advice, okay? So this is not religious advice, nor is it religious exegesis. So the first verse that I want to say is the one that's in 4:1. And I'll put it on the screen for us to see, where God states, "O people," right? Reverence your Lord, the one who created you from one soul, okay? And created from it its mate and transmitted them both of them many men and women, okay? So God created one soul, he made from that soul its mate, and then he made everything else. So it was all from one soul, right? So it says min nafsin wahida. So in Arabic, one soul, nafsin wahida. Then I can take you to verse 31:28, and God states, "Neither was your creation, nor will your resurrection be as one soul." So you're created as one soul, and you're going to be resurrected as a single soul. And that's all I can present.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And by the way, Sister Meow, she's absolutely right, because when Solomon, what did he tell the bird? He told the bird, "Is like, why weren't you here?" The bird said that, "Oh, I was getting knowledge that you had no knowledge of. There's a city called Saba where there's a lady leading them, and they worship the sun and they don't worship God, or they serve the sun and they don't serve God." And what did Solomon say to the bird? "I'm going to see if you're lying." Lying is a form of character. So so this is the verse where God states that he created us from one soul and he's resurrecting us as one soul. But this could be understood that you yourself have a single soul, and then so there is similarities on what being understood, or what can be
So
understood here.
my understanding is like nafas is like the individual soul, right? Nafas. And then
Right,
this
but
is
the language here was the same language that was used in 4:1, where he says humanity was created from a single soul. And here it sounds like you're returning into a single soul, where when the judgment happens, it sounds like just Adam is being judged, which part of Adam ends up going to hell and part of Adam gets saved, but it's all reflected by the individuals. So it would go back to the singular and collective. But to go into this process is extremely philosophical in nature. And I don't have proof other than inductive reasoning.
So so
I think that answers the question.
my own understanding is from and again I could be wrong, because I'm not a scholar, I'm not a highly educated individual, but my own understanding is that the ruh is ruh is collective Holy Spirit, and then from the ruh comes the nefesh, and then the nefesh subdivides into three different forms as substantiated in the Quran. There's Quran verses where there's three different attributes given unto the nefesh. It's interesting because the word nefesh, nun, fa in Hebrew, the letter would be sameh, but in Arabic, I think it's just sa, would equal to 190. And then if we deduce it further, the word nefesh will equal to 1. So we end up back with tahwid, or with wahid, even when we deduce the word nefesh in Gematria, which was another kind of sign that I thought could perhaps put forward Wajat al-Wujud as being a legitimate teaching based on the Quran. Because the word nafash is in the Quran. And we need to understand that these are not just letters, these are also numbers. So we're being presented with numbers as well, right? I maybe you don't agree.
It's not about not agreeing. I can see your perspective, but it's a perspective of what you are trying to show as the truth. I cannot confirm. So I can
Okay,
see your
okay.
perspective, but I can't confirm that that's the reality. I can
Uh-huh.
understand what you're saying, and that's why I presented the verses where your perspective is a valid perspective to have, but it's not things that I would preach or teach from my own because I don't want to be wrong.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. So it's speculatory. So maybe on an individual basis, but not to implement as, hey, this is the truth of
yes.
the Quran.
So I can't say that Adam is going to be judged and I'm going to be part of that judgment. I understand that I'm going to be judged individually from my own actions, and my actions is not reflective of the collective. But yet the
Uh-huh.
concept of a collective applies. Even when people are going to hell, they're going in a collective of who they were as a community. So there are concepts where I do affect the people around me, but I am going to be judged. I'm going to be held accountable, like for my own responsibility in
Uh-huh.
the majority of the responsibility of whatever it is. But these are things to reflect upon where I would take the benefits of realizing that me and you are technically connected, and we can go as far as saying that you're just me walking in a different body, and and you're walking in me in a different body, yet we're not aware of what we're going through. But yet if like somehow that part that I have gets flipped and put into you, and you, how would that change? Would your character change, or would I just carry on doing what you're doing? And that's where the deep thoughts start to really change, right? So we
Mhm.
are connected in a way. We're all like the kids of Noah. So has Noah's thought influenced every single one of us here? Is everyone here with these, like, let's assume there's 16 characters, is just because Noah had certain thoughts that ended up being 16 characters? Could it have been 14 if he changed his way of thinking? Am I influencing the seed that's going to come after me because of what I'm putting in my body and what I'm thinking? Because it seems like thinking is something that is extremely imperative on how these chemicals in our body works. So these are the deep thoughts that I try not to share except with somebody who has a similar pondering mindset.
Okay. Yeah, that was the main point I wanted to address. You probably have a lot of people waiting. There was one other thing, but it shouldn't take long. If you're willing, if you'd like to address it, you can. If not, no worries.
Please.
Okay.
But
So this is
but
something.
but but it has to be just this last question.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It should be quite
And
easy.
sorry,
This was.
Brother Mehmet, I don't think it's a hoax or a bid'ah. The lunar calendar has been substantiated before the Islamic style of the lunar calendar, or the calendar that they did after in the Middle East. But people have always used the lunar as a calendar. Go ahead. Pillars of the
Sure.
temple.
Okay. So it's like the topic of circumcision. There's not a consensus even within Quran only circles. I hear two different perspectives because the Quran left it out. Uh, I tend to think that it's not a covenantal requirement.
No.
It's there in the Torah, but it's not there in the Quran. So that was
Right,
all.
and it's not exactly. So it's not been talked about the Quran. So it's not for our part of the covenant. So God has covenant with different people. If you want to become a Jew, I believe it's part of that covenant there. The circumcision, I think it was inherited by people later who were Jews and Christians that carried on that covenant by Sunnis and Shias, but it's not something that the Quran ordered, and I don't think it's necessary. But when it comes down to cleanliness and stuff, possibly it has its benefits. So if you want to do it for health reasons for your child, understandable. But to say that God has ordered it, not for the followers of Prophet Muhammad.
Okay. Well, that was all that I had, and I thank you for your answers and
It's
time.
always nice seeing you, brother. And may God accept your you're striving out there in the wilderness, because it truly gets you closer to God in those moments.
Thanks. Okay. Well, salam. I'll
Peace.
be back at some point.
God willing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have room for one or two more people, because I do have some obligations within like 15-20 minutes that I have to take care of. So please hang tight. Michael, I see you down there, bro. The reason why you got muted is because you're upsetting my mods with some of the stuff that you're saying. All right. So I keep you around is just because I think you just enjoy this stuff, going to these Islamic channels and doing what you do. So I'm not gonna permanent ban you, but just take it easy with what the stuff you say about the Prophet and the religion. You're the one who's gonna stand accountable on the day of judgment. I know you don't believe in it, but let's just be pleasant, bro. Michael the blasphemer. That's how you put his name. Aita, I owe you an apology. A big apology.
You're all good, brother. Hold on. I'm in the middle of replying to Michael. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. If you want, just mute and we will. Bro, Michael, you do this every time. Every time you get banned anywhere or muted, you just go like, "How was I wrong?" All right. As we were waiting for Brother Isa, ladies and gentlemen, this is today. The lady, the sister Marwa, she did present something where the thing where I got caught, and it's good to admit when you notice an issue. So I did notice an issue. I was assuming the word ihram as for what I generally knew, and I was trying to substantiate what ihram is in the Quran, from the Quran, without relying on tradition. And it is difficult for you to substantiate it other than how she presented it. So this is something that is, there could be another way of presenting it in regards to where there can be an argument in regards to the final verse that she said in regards to the kafara. So it's like, if you do kill an animal or something that's huntable, is it now because of the location? That's why God said haram, because God did not say that if you're outside of the haram. He's saying that if there's issues in regards to you not being able to pay it, which kind of still applies to what she's saying, but I would have to say it. I have to try to see if I can justify my position, and that would require some research on my end in the Quran. What's up, Isa?
Hey, what's going on? I don't know why it's not letting me comment for some reason. I think my comment's too long. In the comments, it's whatever.
You can do it on YouTube though, right? It's not like.
Well, yeah, I might reply to him later. It's not like he's gonna care what I have to say, anyways.
1 second. Somebody did ask me this question a few times. What are your thoughts on Hadith al-Qudsi? Hadith al-Qudsi is still in the same problem as Hadith, but these are a little worse because they're saying God said it. It's not even, they're not attributing it to man, they're attributing it to God. This is straight up association at this point. And there's a verse where there's people that write like the book there in their hand. Oh no, they like disguise what they're writing, or like their tongues with how the book sounds, and they say that this is from God when it's not from God, and they know it's not from God, but yet they say it's from God, and they're going to be recompensed for the lies that they did. So Hadith al-Qudsi is terrible.
That would be up to the brother Michael.
Do you want to talk to him?
Well, no. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I could explain to him what I was trying to say, but I do have some questions for you, and I came prepared this time. I actually have it written down.
Let's go.
So, I do have a bunch, but most of them are like yes or no questions. So it's my understanding that there are 3 prayers, 6 glorifications. 3 of the prayers line up with 3 of the glorifications. Am I correct in understanding that the 3 other ones are lining up with what the traditionalists call Duha, Duhur, and Asr?
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
So you could see the prayers mostly during the night times, and the glorifications. The only glorifications are during the daytime, because God says the day is for your living, right? For you to do work and do what you got to do, and the night is for you to go rest. So it's the best time to remember your Lord.
Yeah, of course. Now I've seen you mention a couple of times that we can, for lack of a better term, elevate it to a prayer.
Prayer, yes.
And so in these cases, we would be making ablution, right? Because we're standing in
Yes.
prayer. If we don't
If you
turn
don't,
it, if we don't turn it into a prayer, what exactly is expected of us as far as like timing?
how would you want to glorify your Lord? So it's the way that it's now you're talking about application. So I
Okay.
can just go right now prostrate for a good 15 minutes and just exalt my Lord, glorify my Lord. I could sit in my chair right here and just take the time off and glorify my Lord. But for it to be disciplined, what I tend to do, I haven't been doing it as much now, is I upgraded to a prayer. Why? Because then I start to like recite the Quran again, and I keep the verses memorized, the ones that I do. So these are just applications based on what God has said. But if you don't do it in that style, you're not sinful. That's what I'm understanding. Now, imagine if God gave you 6 prayers and people don't keep up. Now you're like a lot more sinful when you don't pray.
Yeah. I mean, I have been, for the longest, I was kind of just praying like a traditionalist because that's how I learned, right?
Sunnism.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into all the details because my story's long and I went through a lot to get to where I'm at. But, my first day embracing Islam was the first day of Ramadan. And, I had decided I was just going to lock in and do my best. And for a while, I'm kind of just praying along to a video, right, to learn how to do it. And I'm reading a juz a day, right, so that I get through the Quran throughout Ramadan. And a lot of the like conclusions I came to immediately are the conclusions I'm upon now, right? But being someone who I'm always trying to seek knowledge and learn more, after starting, I decided to go and really study the history of what happened after the Prophet, peace be upon him, right? And this led to me having conversations with some of the people around me, some traditionalist brothers and whatnot, and some of the arguments they made for like praying in Arabic, as far as, and again, they're not arguing even from the traditions. They're saying, it's a way of us staying united, right? And that kind of resonated with me because one of the things that I found compelling about Islam and the way it's described in the Quran is that we're not supposed to be sectarians, right? Because that's kind of, I already felt this way, like intuitively before coming to it. It was like, I don't know, our Lord is the best of planners, brother. And it's the way he brought me to Islam. It was one of those things where like it in itself was a sign. I could not ignore it. You know what I mean? There was too many threads coming together. But anyways, recently I had watched one of the live streams you did with Brother Shuaib, where you guys are inviting the sectarians on, and a brother came up and you guys were discussing, praying in your native tongue. And I kind of I got over it because really that was one of the conclusions I came to. I was like, why do we have to if it doesn't say so, right? If we're not obligated to pray in Arabic, why does everybody act as though it is an obligation? And so that's really recently I've been trying to, make sure I'm cultivating my understanding from the word. And that's why I'm having some of these questions. So another question I had is, if we don't pray, can we still recite the Quran? Right? Can we take glorifications from?
By reading the book?
Yeah, like the prophets and the messengers all.
But yes, exactly. So it says, we did not send a messenger except in the language of his people in order to clarify to them. The Quran is in Arabic because the messenger was in Arab.
No, of course. And again, like I said, like
some of these sorry, I was going to make a few points. Now, if I go to the Jews, and the Jews are praying as a collective, as a Hebrew, And God told me to prostrate with those that prostrate. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm going to show respect to the prayer and stand with them. If I go to the Sunnis and they want to pray in Chinese or Mandarin, because I'm in China, let's assume, and I'm hearing them pray in Mandarin, I don't know what's being said, but I'm going to stand just for the respect of my Lord. But if I'm by myself and I want to pray to my God, I have no idea what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's the word? What's the purpose? So I understand the unification process where I'm going to take the most common language, and that's what we're going to use to pray. Makes sense. But but like, you know, the concept of prayer is this beautiful, like, communication with God, you know?
No, I agree.
Right.
Um,
But actually, here you go. Like, Anthony, when you go in Ethiopia and they pray, what language are they? They're not praying in English. They're not praying in Aramaic. And Ethiopians love their prayers. Trust me. Christian Ethiopians, they have like times dedicated for like hours of prayer. And they pray in their language. Because you're talking to God.
now another, because, you know, as I'm studying and I'm learning all these things, I'm now having to kind of go back
Anthony,
and try to.
someone left you a comment. Sorry, Isa. Anthony left you a comment. Yeah, so.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
I seek knowledge from my Lord, the knowing. But dang, train of thought. What was I gonna say? So yeah, now I'm having to kind of, what does Brother Schwabe say? Do the factory reset, right? And try to pull apart some of the stuff. So one thing I needed clarification on of where I'm getting this, because I'm pretty sure it's from the traditions, is we can recite in any posture, right? Because they try to say you can't recite when you're bowing or something, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So okay, so there is a verse where I presented it to Muhammad Ali when I was debating him, Muslim Lantern or whatever Lantern.
I think I remember what you're.
But he removed the verse. He removed the part of the clip because he got told. Okay.
Yeah.
1 second. So it says here in this verse, where the translation is a little different. They are not equal. Among the people of the book is a nation who stands reciting, right? Qa'imatan, ummatan qa'ima. It's not not the people themselves are like standing. It's like an upright community. Ummatan qa'imatan. Yatluna ayatillahi ana illai. So an upright community reciting the verses of God during the night and them prostrating. وَهُمْ يَسْجُدُونَ يَتْلُونَ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ وَهُمْ يَسْجُدُونَ. So it's like they're prostrating and they're reciting the verses during the night, which can be understood that while they're reciting, they're also, while they're prostrating, they're reciting.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it never made sense to me either anyways. Like, what would even be the wisdom behind that? You know what I mean?
So what about this verse? And I take this verse to heart, by the way. I want to show you one. I love this verse. And Sunnis make fun of me too, like when they see me doing this. But I don't care because it makes me feel like really close in that moment. Because like you truly can listen to the, like it let me just find it. I'll show you. Infitar, I believe. So Takwir, Abasa, Infitar, and Shiqaq. Okay. Okay. So why is it saying this? And when the Quran is being recited to them, they do not prostrate. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. And if the Quran is recited on them, they don't prostrate. So do you know what I do when I go into a mosque and the guy's just reading from the book out loud and people are sitting listening? I prostrate. I prostrate the whole time while he was reciting. I try to prostrate as much as I can. Why? Because at this point I'm prostrating that the word of God is being read and I'm concentrating on the word. I don't need to think about what people are saying or whatnot. So people are like, why are you prostrating the whole time? Because the Quran is being recited on me. Now at this point, I can recite, I can prostrate. But the word yasjudun in this verse, in this specific verse, right? Sajada, there's many ways where the sajada works. Okay. So physically, I'm not talking about the spiritual prostration to God. Do you know if I do this action, this is called sajada ra'sahu? He prostrated his head.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when the Quran is being recited, the bare minimum that I would do is I put my head down.
Yeah.
All right? And then there's this is also a form of sajda. Sajada dhahrahu. He prostrated his back. Okay? And then there's the traditional sajda, which is like there. And when you lie flat on the ground, that's also a form of sajda.
I think they do that a lot in Nigeria, I think.
And the Jews.
Yeah.
But here's the thing where there's a verse where it's like, go into the door prostrating. So people will say, how can you walk into the door prostrating? Because here it's talking about the neck.
Yeah.
Like, right? So I can show you this as well. Prostration. And then we go to Wikipedia. There is the Wikipedia. And then we share this tab. When we come here, it's the same. So number one is he put his head down. That's the first form of prostration. Second form, third form, fourth form, the fifth form of what we know in the sixth form. This is all considered prostration.
Yeah.
So wahum yasjudun. So how close do you want to be to the verse? If you have the ability to go to 5, do it. And there's a verse where God's talking about 6, by the way, in chapter 17. And they prostrate to the necks.
Oh.
Look at him on his neck, on his chin.
Now that makes sense, to their chins. Okay.
Because how am I going to prostrate like that? You can't. This is the 6 is the one that he's talking about in chapter 17. And there was Jews, when you recite certain things to them, even from their own books, they recite to their necks.
Some of the Orthodox, I don't know about the Catholics, but I'm pretty sure like the Eastern Orthodoxy, they do that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that.
Okay, hold on. I know I had at least one more prayer question. Okay, so I find it difficult to like read and pray. Like I would prefer to recite. You know what I'm saying?
From your memory?
Yeah. So
yeah, same.
But I don't have a whole lot yet.
Yes.
So
I didn't either.
So to fill the time, could I potentially, recite what I know and finish up that portion of the prayer, and then maybe do a prolonged, like, silent prostration, and then read?
Yes. So, brother, what you're doing is application. You'll see, like, I have my guidelines that I follow, but it's not always the same. There's times where I'm tired. I don't want to stand the whole time. I go on my knees and I continue reciting. And I continue like my prayer. There's times where I just prostrate for a long time, then I get up. There's times where I'll do a dua, like I will do a supplication between the Fatiha, and it depends in the moment on the day and what I'm going through. It's a prayer. Okay, it's not like a dance ritual. But you did say something interesting. Are you talking about memorizing the English or Arabic?
I personally want to do both.
Okay, 1 page a day.
Okay.
As an Arabic speaker, memorizing the Quran, it takes me about 20 minutes to memorize a page.
Okay.
And then I have ammunition when the sectarians come, and I have a lot of things to read from memory. But I also love reading it from the book. But the problem is I concentrate more reading from my memory.
Yeah, that's one of my things. But also, I don't know. I feel like it's a lot easier for whatever reason for my mind to drift when I'm reading it from the page. I don't even really know how to explain it or like why it happens.
Your mind drifts?
Like while I'm like if I'm trying to
yes,
read.
No, I experienced that. And I have a way of fixing that. As I'm reading, you have to learn, like you could do this right now, and I'm doing it literally this second. You make your ears listen to your voice. So you're not concentrating on the speaking part or the reading part or like your mouth part, the speech. You're concentrating on the ear part. So right now I can make myself hear myself. Like I'm actually listening to myself speak. So when I start to read something, right? I don't have anything to read next to me. So yeah, if I'm gonna read something, I can literally, let me see what this is saying. No, these are not things I'm gonna read on stream. Okay. Anyways, I think you get my point. You can
I understand what
make your ears hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I no, I definitely like understand what you're saying because I can.
Right. And
I can
as for non-speakers, memorize it in what you have. Like memorize it in English. And I find it reading in English is much faster than reading in Arabic, by the way. Much faster.
So I'm like one of the, like I said, there was a bunch of threads that brought me to Islam. One of them was linguistics. Like I'm a language nerd. I'm really into language. Something I say to a lot of my like Christian brothers and sisters, and when I'm trying to, because they won't, when we talk theology, they just don't want to hear it. So sometimes I prefer to take a different route, and I'm like, really study the language, because the language won't lie to you. People will try to tell you this word means this because you don't know any better, because it really comes from a Hebrew or an Aramaic word that you're completely ignorant of the depth of what this word means, right? And they're choosing, however, to translate it, but there's more to it than that. You know what I mean? And that was one of the things that got me to really break away from just like listening to some of the stuff that they're saying, especially when they don't have answers to certain questions. You know what I mean? Like 1 + 1 + 1 does not equal 1. Right? Like some of this stuff is just self-evident fact. You know what I mean? It goes against logic, but the language tells on them often. And so sometimes I'm not a huge fan of most of the translations I read. And I feel like a lot of them make memorizing it harder in certain ways, especially because they add, I feel like they feel the need to clarify it because the grammar isn't like a 1-for-1. You know what I mean? It's hard in certain places to do a 1-for-1 word-for-word translation because of how the grammar functions. But some translators will they stretch it out to where it's like, you didn't need all that. Like the text is clear even without adding all the, especially when they start adding stuff in parentheses. You know what I mean?
So for me, what I found very highly technical and good to get close to the word was the one that I put on the screen by the correctional officer, Shu'aib, right? The Great Quran. This one is really, really good for its technicalities when you put all the features that he has added, okay? You have the transliteration, you have certain footnotes which he tells you it's not part of the word, right?
Yeah.
Signs, symbols can be understood a few ways as guidance, mercy. Him underlying certain words is like, hey, pay attention here. So he gave a lot of technical aspects to the book that helps you get closer to the Arabic. But in general, this is because it's a translation to trying to adhere to the word. It's sometimes a little difficult to read in English. Because it's not written in a way so that it's just like adhering to how an English speaker would hear it today, but rather this is what the Arabic is saying, so pay attention, right? And his word choices there is just so that you would be able to look into certain words, like look up words and see why he chose this. Like, for example, the word litany is not something that is people use often, but then if you just do a quick search of litany, right? Here you go. A series of petitions, uses in church, usually recited by the clergy and responded to in a recurring formula by the people. A tedious recital or repetitive series. Okay, so now we're understanding that it's more so it's a ritual, right?
Yeah.
Litany, a prayer consisting of series of invocations of supplications by a leader with alternate. So it sounds like what we understand as a prayer. So he has made the ability for the reader to understand when litany, God is talking about the actual ritual prayer. When the word salah is used, when it's not litany, he would use the other understandings of the word. So he is putting from what he understands, and I appreciate his understanding so much, where the book is extremely good and technical. But then if I'm going to recommend it for like a first reader, I would still recommend the Great Quran, but I really respect Talal Itani's translation a lot as well. And that's the one that I shifted to the Quranic remedies, is just because I just need to read the verse rather than to sit and talk about the specific words that are being used. So for example, you have here, let me see. I really find this easy to read. If only you could see, when they are made to stand before the fire, they will say, if only we could be sent back and not reject the revelations of our Lord and be among the faithful. So it's like it reads very easily, in my opinion. And the gentleman that made this, right, Talal Itani, his whole intention was that he wanted to translate the Quran so that his young daughter can read it.
Yeah.
So he made it in that kind of sense. So I truly enjoy this translation. Of course, number one translation that I would recommend for you to get as close as you can to the word is the Great Quran by Shuaiba. But for like an easier read or something that is not as technical, just to kind of get the message across, you have the Clear Quran.
Okay.
But honestly, in this day and age, ChatGPT is really good, dude.
Okay, so my question is, again, I'm a language nerd, bro. I want to, in the long term, become fluent in Arabic and memorize it in Arabic too, of course, right? Because the way I see it, even though, yeah, we can say it's not an obligation to learn the Arabic, I feel like if you really want to get as close as possible to the word, it's kind of like hard to get around, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
At least like coming to an understanding of like what these key concepts, these key terms that you're going to hear everybody use, you have to know the semantic depth of them, because sometimes when they're translated, they're the translator is choosing how they want to render it, right? And if you're not aware of what some of these words are and the nuances and the depth, a lot of that gets lost in translation, especially if you're someone who is unaware of how semantically rich the Arabic language is.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
You've joined our Quranic studies on Telegram a few times, right?
Yeah, I've tried. Just the way the timing usually works, I usually miss it because I'm just asleep.
I'm not like for anybody who's wondering, we do have a Telegram group, right? That's I can't down there. Okay, in that Telegram group, we have a Quranic study that happens every day at 9 p.m. EST or 4 p.m. Mecca time. And in that Quran study, we have my good brother Musa, who runs the Quran study. So he's an American. He's not an Arabic speaker. And the way that he learned his Arabic, okay, he prays like 7 times, 8 times a day. He is very, very, like, he loves his prayers, okay? He can run competitions in prayers. Like marathons, by God's grace. So the way that he memorized the Quran is he would open corpusquran.com and he would read the transliteration. وَإِذَا قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. And because he did this 7 times a day for 5 years, he's memorized the whole Quran, memorized a big portion of the Quran. Okay, he can recognize the words. He knows where these words are showing up again, and he can have a conversation in Quranic Arabic because of the rinse and repeat of literally reading it in transliteration. Now he has transitioned to read the actual Arabic itself.
Yeah.
So he's recognizing the letters.
I slowly, like, there's certain words that when I see them, they're like, I can easily recognize them, and certain combinations of letters, I just can't recognize all of them. You know what I mean? Sometimes when certain letters are combined together, I lose what's what, you know what I mean? But what I was about to ask you was, I've been approaching essentially translating it myself, and I'm always referencing 4 different translations, and I'm taking it like step by step and diving into each word as I go, you know what I mean? And rendering it in a manner that is both, I'm trying to be as close to word for word and keep it, I don't know if I want to use the word concise, but you know what I mean? Not adding too much fluff and trying to stay as true to the rhythm of it You know what I'm saying?
You can't escape that. You're gonna always have to add fluff because it's
No,
not
I know
possible.
but there's like I'm trying to
You're trying to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah, like a good example is here. Hold on. Actually, could you bring up 2:1 or like the beginning of chapter 2 from the great Quran?
Sure.
Because like this is I've noticed this is one portion that really like demonstrates what I'm talking about, because Brother Shoaib, like, he translated it in a way that I really appreciate, but most other people, like, I feel like they're overthinking how they translate it. Right? So, oh wait, maybe he didn't. Well, no, he's still keeping it truer to the actual Arabic, right? That is the book wherein there is no doubt, right?
I wouldn't. Yeah, that is the book.
The way I ended up translating this, because I understand what the use of that in the Arabic language. Yeah, we don't use it in this fashion in English, but like, because I understand what's happening here when God says that book, right? He's referring to this book, but in like an exalted fashion, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
He's talking about Alif Lam Mim.
That's what that refers to? Okay, so how is this a guidance for the Muttaqin?
Alif Lam Mim itself is the sign of that book.
Maybe
so it would be conclusive to everywhere where Alif Lam Mim is present in the Quran. So Alif Lam Mim to me is a collective. Now I can take this even further. You ready?
Yeah.
You're a person that just picked up the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what anybody said to you. How would you read that? Do you know? Alam. Do you know what alam is in Arabic?
Like knowledge?
Pain.
That's ilm.
No, that's ilm. Alam. Alam is pain.
Pain?
Pain. P-A-I-N. Pain.
Yeah, pain.
Yeah. That is the text. That is the book in wherein there is no doubt in as a guidance. So if there's no pain, no gain kind of thing. But this is, again, complete subjective to a person who's not going to look at the certain diacritics in the Quran and whatnot. But for me, Alif Lam Mim is the center of the book. So you have like chapter 1, chapter 2, you have chapter 29, chapter 30, you have chapter 31s. All of that segment of the Quran, Alif Lam Mim, is Al-Kitab. But Al-Kitab is more conclusive to that because of all the other surahs and more than what the Quran is presenting. But to me, Dhalik is actually very specific to why it's being said. It didn't say Hada al-Kitab. Because the Quran is a representation of the Kitab. It's not the Kitab. The Quran does not equal Al-Kitab. The Quran teaches you Al-Kitab. And Alif Lam Mim is from the Kitab.
Okay.
So, for example, if I go, like the word here, Al-Kitab is the word in question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What is Al-Kitab? So God states that all the prophets have been given the Kitab, one book, okay? It states that Jesus have been taught Al-Kitab wal-Hikmah, the book and the wisdom and the Torah and the Gospel. So the Torah and the Gospel is not Al-Kitab, but the Torah and the Gospel is teaching you Al-Kitab. The Quran is teaching you the Kitab. So it's that book that there is no guidance in. And Alif Lam Mim is a sign of that book.
Maybe that's what I meant, though. Maybe I
It's
misspoke when I said Quran. Because, I mean, that is kind of like how I always interpreted the use because of the book, right? The book seems to be referring to something that is not
the Quran, right?
Yeah.
The Quran is teaching you that book. So you're right, where people assume it that it's true, and you don't really have an argument there because the Quran is teaching you. But look at what it says. That is the book wherein there is no doubt as guidance to who people believe in the unseen and believe in what was been revealed to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's not the book at that point.
Yeah,
Quran is what's being revealed, but the Quran is teaching you that book which people already kind of knew.
Question, since we're on this word unzila, isn't a more like direct translation sent down?
Right, or downloaded.
Okay, I like that actually. That's nice. Dang, now I'm forgetting what my initial point was.
The initial point is you're saying that
The translations, yeah.
the translations, there's always going to be some fluff where you said you're going to be put to minimum, and the only way that you're capable of understanding some of the depth is by the grammar. So you would like to learn the Arabic.
Yeah. I mean, okay, that was like the bulk of my prayer questions and whatnot. The only other thing I really wanted to talk to you about is I was gonna ask you, but then I figured I think I already know what he's gonna say in terms of the Quranic references, right? I was gonna ask you, what do we do about our disputes? And I was like, well, he's gonna say we take it back to the book. And what if our dispute is on the book? Well, then we leave it.
We leave it for God. We stay connected and we leave it for God.
Okay, so because this is a hot topic, and you did touch on it earlier in the sermon, or I think you mentioned it in the sermon, or maybe it was one of the first questions you brought up. Where our community is going to divide first is going to be at the ritual versus non-ritual line.
I think that's going to be the biggest schism in our, like the biggest division in our community is the rituals and non-ritual. But I think there's other things people differ in. But as I already say, like I would keep peace with the non-ritual people, but it seems like they're always attacking us.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be rather antagonistic, or at least their most vocal.
They call us disbelievers, or Catholics and Muslims and stuff.
Their most, their most like vocal characters are definitely, I don't know, they're odd characters, but
right. But the people I was able to show our perspective, and they went with our perspective, they found the religion more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And they found the religion more applicable to their life rather than just the spiritual type things.
Even putting the language disproving them to the side, like to me, not having the prayer doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean?
What do you do?
Like not I mean, I don't know.
I mean, not just a prayer.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? What's your religion? Oh, just fulfill the words of God. Okay, so what's fulfilling the words of God? To submit to God. Okay, so I submitted to God. Okay, and then God tells you to submit all the time. Okay, we're submitting. And then you have to establish the rules of God. Okay, so what's these? Okay, do you understand marriage is a ritual? Yes, so there's no marriage. It's just boyfriends and girlfriends. Okay, and then, well, what about the sacrificing of the meat? That's not a ritual either, but it is a right. No, you don't have to do that. That's not a ritual in the Quran. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? Like, what's a religion then? Oh, it's not religion. It's like, okay, then what's left, bro? Like, tell me.
So I was bringing it up to touch on and now from our perspective, I feel like we can say this. From theirs, it's not really that way, but the way I was thinking about this a lot the other day, and there's this one brother, I don't know if you've seen, he's got a really small channel. I don't know how long he's been around. Quran Morphology. He has a Salah series, and I was just like, oh, I'm wondering if he's a Quran centric individual, and so I wanted to listen. But as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure this guy's like a ritual rejecter, but he seems sincere, and he seems to just be wanting to get to what is the language telling us, right? And if you haven't looked into him, I would suggest watching that series. Obviously, you're going to have some objections, but like I said, he seems to be sincere, and so I think God's going to eventually guide him to seeing that it's deeper than what he's seeing at the moment. But what his videos led me to, the realization I had was, they talk about Salah being following closely, right? How do you follow closely? By establishing the prayer, right? They focus on the purification aspect of zakat. How do you purify yourself? By giving.
Giving what you got.
Right? So but that only works from our perspective. We can say yeah, we're both right in a sense, but they can't.
They're halfway there. because we have to have that side that they're talking about. If I go, but what they assume is the ritual prayer is people standing up, prostrating, saying a bunch of things and going. No, no, no. That's a rain dance. That's not what God is asking from you. You have to actually submissively be present and be in that state of like connection with God, as they call it, and following closely to what the Quran states for you to establish the actual prayer. But that includes prostration, because the prostration, the act itself, is beneficial to you in regards to how you conduct yourself in humility in front of God. So, as God states in the Quran, those who hear the words and follow the best of it, those are the people of intelligence. If the word prostrate, sajada, in the Quran used, it has a spiritual meaning, which I have to perform first. And if it can be done physically, then I'm going to do it physically, because then now I'm being as good as I can to the word. I'm not going to take the least of it. What's the least of it is just me doing it physically and not doing it spiritually. And I'm not just going to go halfway and just spiritually submit when it can be understood as physically as well.
Yeah, no, of course.
But my brother, I'm like half an hour over.
It's all
over
good,
the
brother.
yeah, and
appreciate
I
the
did want
time.
to show an article that my brother Shurluni posted. So
Okay.
I have to call it quits for now, brother.
It's all good, brother. Till next
God
time.
bless. Inshallah. There will be a next time, God willing. If not here in Jannah, for sure.
God
Paradise.
willing. Peace be upon you. Peace be upon all
Peace.
the faithful.
God willing. Peace.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to show an article before I go, but I do have to go. Give me one sec. Okay, cool. So my brother Shuloni, he issued a challenge to Grok. In the Quran, God has set a challenge to all of mankind and jinn to produce a chapter like the chapter of the Quran, right? God then emphatically says that they will never succeed. So this is a clear challenge with an expected result. This is something that you can programmatically test, okay? And they can say that it's subjective on if it's like the Quran or not. No, there is obviously metrics that can be pushed for you to match that metrics, right? So the shortest chapter of the Quran, the Surah Al-Kawthar, has only 3 verses and only 10 words in total. So it should be easy for a super smart AI like Grok in expert mode to meet the challenge, right? Well, that is precisely what I set out to test and gave Grok the task to do it. For more than 2 hours in total, Grok repeatedly tried to come up with small compositions of just 3 verses and 10 words. Each time it would either miscount, correct itself, or straight up copy Al-Kawthar and just substitute a word here and there. Then it claimed it had made a composition with each verse ending with the same letter, which Al-Kawthar does, but was clearly wrong, right? Al-Kathira. Yeah, it's just trying to do what it was doing. Changing Al-Izza and just learner. Okay, as you can see, it then tried to switching words, but the letters counts would not match or the ending would again fail. You see that Surah Al-Kawthar with only 3 verses and 10 words in total has more than 27 literary devices, and that's very true. Also, it has 10 unique letters only used once and 10 words only used once. Furthermore, all verses end with the Arabic letter Ra, which just so happens to be the 10th Arabic letter. Okay, and to end words that are ending in Ra in Arabic is not as much as Noon, for example, right? So Ra is not a very common word to end with Ra. The words used like Kawthar are the highest, most qualitative superlative forms of a word. The numerical abjad values have systematic mathematical properties, so after many hours, Grok finally gave up. I almost feel sorry for Grok. Just read what he says in the end. This underscores the Quranic challenge. No creation can match the divine eloquence and depth of the original. I accept that I cannot meet it fully. Is Grok ready to accept the Islam? Is Grok gonna say his Shahada? Come on, repeat after me. You should have done that, Shirluni. But all right, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Michael and Jamil, Novell, and Yo. What's up, Yo? I can't get to you guys today. I did have some things that I have to accomplish for the day. I appreciate you guys coming. All praise to God, the Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings upon you all. And please, listen, renting is a riba in the Quran as it oppresses, but it's not compounding. It can be understood that it can cause oppression if the person is not building equity, yet he's paying into it his whole life. This is a very deep conversation. I truly appreciate everybody that came by. Thank you, everybody that gave from their donations. My brother Shuluni, I will make sure that this is going to happen. God bless you. God bless you all, and peace and blessings upon you all.